Chapter 547. It was the Hungry Ghost Festival in the middle of the 7th month of the lunar calendar. It was a traditional festival among the people of the Dragon Nation, also known as the Ghost Festival. The players noticed that the decorations in the Mansion of the Dead had undergone a drastic change on this day. Green willow, the wisp flames danced on the buildings in the city. Yellow ghost paper fluttered down from the sky. Dark clouds hung low in the sky, and a cool breeze blew past. Grudging sighs and murmurs could be heard from time to time. The atmosphere had become extremely creepy and terrifying. Of course, most players were immune to this, except for a few timid players. After all, their courage had been honed by the battles they had gone through. They were all warriors who had gone through war. From the player's point of view, even if a real ghost appeared, it would be able to drain its HP bar. At this point, the players were looking forward to the activities that the stupid officials would organize on this day. Would they suddenly have a stroke and give them a wave of super welfare activities, such as giving away 10,000 soul coins? Lou had already made plans for the Hungry Ghost Festival. He released the event announcement in the wee hours of the morning. Hungry Ghost Festival, event announcement. Frowny Face Hungry Ghost Festival Event 1. Ghost Parade, 12 noon to 5 p.m. Event details. The gates of hell will open in the middle of the 7th month. At the beginning of the event, the Ghost Mother will lead her subordinates, 100 ghosts, and 100,000 ghost soldiers to attack the land of Bakey. During this period, the players will need to avoid the attacks of the Ghost Mother, boss, and her subordinates. If the Ghost Mother or her subordinates come into contact with you, the player will be disqualified. If the ghost soldiers come into contact with you twice, the player will also be disqualified. The Ghost Mother and her subordinates are invincible monsters. They are immune to all damage and control. Event requirement. Survive until the end of the event. Event hint. Every time the ghost soldiers kill a player, they will be temporarily immobilized. Other than the Ghost Mother and her subordinates, they will not be able to kill another player. Event hint 2. The Ghost Mother will appear in the last hour of the event. Event message. The gates of hell will open in the middle of the 7th month. Go home at midnight. Hungry Ghost Festival Event 2. Zhong Kuei Subduing the Demons, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Event details. After the event begins, all players in Bakey will be randomly assigned to 2 camps. The camp battle mode will be activated. Camp 1. Zombie abilities mastered. Disguise. Required you look no different from an ordinary person. You won't be able to see any changes in your appearance. Bloodlust. Required move within 1 meter of the target player. If the target player is a heavenly master from the Zhong Kuei faction, the target will die. Cool down 10 minutes. Blood Eye. Required after use. The world will turn black and white. Players on your side will appear gray, and players from Zhong Kuei's camp will appear red. No cooldown. Random ability, 1 invisibility. Random enter stealth state for 120 seconds. Cooldown, 10 minutes. Blood Claw. Random can be used on targets within 15 meters. If the target is a heavenly master from Zhong Kuei's camp, 1 hit kill. Cooldown time, 20 minutes. Flying. Random using this ability will grant the user the ability to fly. Duration, 5 minutes. Cooldown, 20 minutes. Body of Rigor Mortis. Random, gain an extra life. After the first death, you will be randomly resurrected in the land of Bakey, limited to 1 time. Alignment 2. Heavenly Master abilities mastered. Destroy evil. Required used on target player. If target player is in the zombie faction, target player will die. Cooldown, 7 minutes. Exorcism. Essential once activated, zombies will not be able to approach you for 20 seconds. Random ability. Can only have 1 yin-yang eye. Random identify if the target player is a zombie. Cooldown, 7 minutes. Thunder Palm. Random cause group damage in a 5x5 area. Zombie faction players who are injured will die. Cooldown, 1 hour. Taoist Barrier. Random immune to 2 zombie attacks. Event tip. Players from both camps will receive special evolved abilities during the event. Heavenly Master. Kill 10 players from the zombie faction and evolve into Zhong Kuei. Cooldown of Destroy Evil will be reduced to 1 minute. Additional ability acquired. Yin Yang Eye, 1 minute cooldown. If you have acquired the ability of Yin Yang Eye, it will be changed to Taoist Barrier. Zombie. Kill 10 players from the Heavenly Master's camp and evolve into General. Cooldown of Bloodlust will be reduced to 1 minute. Additional ability acquired. Body of Rigor Mortis, 3 resurrections. If you have acquired the skill randomly, it will be changed to Bloody Claw. Event requirement. After the event officially starts, players from both camps can attack each other. After the event ends, the camp with the most number of players present will be the winner of the event. Event message. Heavenly Master vanquishes demons. Punishment of good and evil. Hungry Ghost Festival Event 3. Ghost Lantern Remembrance, 11 p.m. to 12 p.m. Event details. After the event starts, the Underworld Sea will undergo great changes. All players who are online will receive mission items, Ghost Lantern, River Lantern, and Letter. Ghost Lantern. Place the remembrance of your deceased loved ones and float it far away from the Underworld Sea. Along the way, help lonely souls and obtain good karma. Letter. Write the remembrance of your deceased loved ones and place it in the Ghost Lantern to send it far away. Event requirement. After placing the Ghost Lantern in the Underworld Sea, let it drift freely. Spiritual materials, soul coins, and other tributes can be stored inside the Ghost Lantern. If you obtain good karma from lonely souls along the way, you will receive a special hidden attribute, Dark Virtue. After the announcement of the Hungry Ghost Festival event was released, the Bakey players' faces were instantly filled with smiles. It was only at this time that the players would give Battle official good reviews on the forum. The day of the event was also the time when the number of people online in Battle official peaked. As long as there was nothing particularly important to deal with in reality, the players would always be online to await their orders and prepare for the event. On this day, every region in the land of Bakey was filled with players who had returned from the sea or other regions. For the players, every festival event was not as simple as sucking the blood of the dog officials. More importantly, the event could bring happiness. Hence, every Battle Festival event was a grand event for the players in the entire region. After knowing that the first event was the invasion of the Ogre Mother, the players had already begun to purchase movement potions and other auxiliary items in the shop to prepare themselves. When noon arrived, the skies suddenly became very gloomy. The chilly wind howled and dark clouds rolled. Hundreds of ghost gates randomly appeared in various regions of the land of Bakey. One after another, gigantic figures emerged from within the door. The Painted Ghost, Hanged Ghost, Plague Ghost, Mountain Elf, Black Impermanence, White Impermanence, Ox Head, Horseface, Hook Soul, and so on. At this moment, the 100 Ghost Army arrived with 100,000 ghost soldiers. At the same time, a dark blue gate also appeared in the Mansion of the Dead. A white ghost claw reached out from the gate and grabbed the edge of the gate. Following it was a figure that was more than 10 meters tall. It was entirely white and held a morning soul staff in its hand. It was the White Impermanence. Seeing this scene, the players in the Mansion of the Dead were stunned for a moment before they ran out of the Mansion of the Dead crazily. Since the monsters were all invincible, there was no such thing as a health bar. Hence, they could only run away and could not face it head-on. The entire Mansion of the Dead was in a mess at this moment. The gate of the Mansion of the Dead was extremely congested. Apart from the players who had purchased flying items, a large number of players were squeezed there and could not get out in a short period of time. At this moment, the players who wanted to get out of the city were like zombies attacking the city. They were climbing up the city wall, trampling on each other. The difference was that one was going in while the other was going out. The scene was extremely crazy. When the White Impermanence's figure had completely solidified and the ghost soldiers had also walked out of the Ghost Gate, a game notification appeared. Server announcement. The 100 Ghost Parade event has officially begun. Players, please be careful to avoid the 100 Ghost Hunt. Work hard for your survival. As the notification appeared, the White Impermanence began to act. It strode toward the players closest to it. The chilly wind blew, carrying with it the yellow ghost paper. The atmosphere became extremely gloomy and terrifying. At this moment, many players' faces were pale. Run. The XX in front. Don't block the way. F*CKU. Can't you hurry up? Go to the west gate. This road is blocked. Don't get caught. It's here. The white impermanence is here. Can the idiot in front hurry up? Why are you taking so long just to get out? Screw you. Under the event scenario that Bailey had set up, the players quickly assumed their identities and began to run for their lives. In this event, all the players could only hide and not fight back. This was because this was an escape event with a completely different level of strength, not a confrontation event. Even if the players ran out of the Mansion of the Dead, they were not safe. This was because there were 100 ghosts and ghost soldiers in every area of Bakey. If they were caught, they would be killed instantly. Therefore, all kinds of tricks were played. After all, the number of 100 ghosts was not large. To the players, they were not a big threat. On the contrary, the 100,000 ghost soldiers were a huge headache for the players. However, the ghost soldiers had a unique characteristic. After killing a player, they would be immobilized for about a minute. Therefore, a large number of players smartly chose to betray their teammates. Originally, they had agreed to run away together. When they were forced into a corner, they decisively pushed their teammates to the ghost soldiers and let them be killed. Then, they would run away by themselves. This was what some of the players said. After all, it was just an event. As long as they were happy, it would be over. Therefore, betraying their teammates became one of the ways to escape. As long as there was nowhere to run, throwing a teammate out was like throwing a skill that stopped the ghost soldiers from moving, allowing the team to continue running. The trust between the players was completely lost. Not only did the players have to face the pursuit of the 100 ghosts and ghost soldiers, but they also had to prevent their unscrupulous teammates from betraying them and using them as skills. Just a second ago, we were brothers, and the next second, you're my substitute puppet. Die bravely. As some players posted this insane survival method in the event chat channel, such a bad behavior instantly became a popular strategy for this event. Those who had tried it all said it was great. During this period, there were also some players with strange brain circuits who buried themselves underground when the event started, thinking that they could escape from the 100 Ghosts pursuit. However, it was not that easy to break through the event that Lu Wu and Bailey had set up. Lu Wu did not have many soul coins in his storage, so it was naturally a good thing to have one less player to receive his reward. Therefore, the 100 Ghosts that he and Bailey had designed had different abilities. Some had a keen sense of smell, some had clairvoyance, some had short-distance teleportation, and so on. In short, it was completely impossible to find a place to hide until the end of the event in front of the 100 Ghosts. The players could only constantly change their hiding positions and be on guard against any possible danger. This was the only way to survive until the end. This intense and exciting chase and escape event became extremely tragic after the appearance of the boss, Mother Evil Spirit. At this moment, the Fourth Calamity Legion, who once declared that they wanted to dominate this world, was being chased by the ghosts, wailing and howling miserably. The feeling of being surrounded by ferocious ghosts and being powerless to resist almost made a few timid players cry. It was too King scary. The behavior of the players during the event naturally attracted the attention of many neutral forces in Bakey. However, they were already used to it. From their point of view, these player clan creatures would go crazy in the land of Bakey every once in a while, and they had no idea what they were doing. They were either shouting at the air, looking at the empty ground with a terrified expression, or running back and forth in the land of Bakey. Anyway, they all looked like they were not very smart. Chapter 548. The Ghost Parade event was the first time the players encountered an event where they could not defeat the monsters. Compared to other events, the Ghost Parade event was much more exciting for the players. However, it was also much more difficult than the previous events. In the last hour of the event, many teams had suffered heavy losses to the point where they had no teammates to betray. Their kind teammates had all become the immobilizing talismans that some players used on the ghost soldiers, exchanging a life for a life. However, the players who betrayed their teammates still felt that although the teammate items were useful, they were not very durable and would be used up in a short amount of time. Betraying their teammates was fun for a while, but it would last forever. Many players hated themselves for not making more friends before the event. Otherwise, they could have sold a few more items and persevered until the end of the event. At the last moment of the event, when victory was at hand, the remaining players who survived the Ghost Parade were shivering in fear. Even the wind beside them could scare them. The players who were still alive were not those who had excellent awareness and were good at hiding and hiding. They were all ruthless players who betrayed their teammates. They were not ordinary players. When the event ended, the number of players who had not been eliminated was less than 1/10 of the number at the beginning of the event. As Mother Harpy led the Ghost Soldiers and the Ghost Soldiers into the gate of hell and disappeared from the land of Baki, the surviving players were filled with pride and a sense of accomplishment. Less than 1/10 of them survived, but I survived. I'm so King awesome. However, when they returned to the Mansion of the Dead, they were greeted by the brutal beatings of their revived teammates. Their methods were extremely cruel. After all, they were used as immobilizing talismans. How could they not feel resentful? However, it had to be said that this activity was also filled with joy amidst the excitement. As the event ended, the players could not wait to start the second event, Zhong Kuei, subduing the demons. On this day, the sales of the items in the shop were extremely good, especially the speed potion, which could increase one's movement speed. Not only did Lu Wu not suffer any losses, he even made a small profit. Lu Wu could not help but feel that he was smart enough to come up with this type of event. While the players were happy, it also allowed the players to circulate their soul coins. When it was 8 o'clock in the evening, the game notification rang in the players' heads. Server announcement. Hungry Ghost Festival Event 2. Zhong Kuei, Subduing the Demons has begun. You'll be randomly assigned to your faction. At the same time as the game notification appeared, the players also had the information of the faction they were assigned to. Half of the players belonged to the Heavenly Master faction, while the other half belonged to the Zombie faction. Each of them had different abilities. As for the abilities that the players originally had, they were all blocked after the event started and could not be used. Their attributes were also adjusted to be the same. At this moment, the way the players looked at the players around them changed. They became extremely vigilant, even towards their own teammates. This was especially so for the Heavenly Masters. The Yin-Yang was an ability that could identify friend from foe, and not all players could randomly grasp it. On the other hand, the players of the zombie camp had the necessary skill of identifying friend or foe, bloody eyes. Hence, the players of the Celestial Masters faction needed to form teams. In the team, there must be a player who grasped the Yin-Yang eye. As for the zombie players, they were already prepared to attack the surrounding Celestial Masters because they had the Blood Eye buff. The deception was repeated once again. For example, when a certain teammate asked his teammate if he was a Heavenly Master or a zombie, the teammate answered sincerely that he was a Heavenly Master. However, after gaining his trust, the teammate turned around and killed the teammate. The trust between players was once again lost. The battle of wits and courage had officially begun. The skills of the players from both camps had long cooldowns, so they did not dare to use them casually. For example, the Celestial Masters faction's Evil Smiting had a cooldown of 7 minutes. If it was used on the wrong target and they encountered a real zombie player within 7 minutes, they would be completely doomed. Hence, the battle of wits and courage was the main theme. Using skills to test the other party's identity was not advisable, as it would easily put one in a passive position. Compared to the vigilance of the Heavenly Masters, the zombie players were deceiving in order to get close to the Celestial Masters faction players and kill them in one strike. Of course, when the zombie players encountered the Celestial Masters faction players who possessed the Yin-Yang Eye, they also met a tragic end. This group of players pretended to be tricked and waited for the zombie players to get close. When they thought they were about to succeed, they would backhandedly hit the zombie players with Evil Smiting, causing them to doubt their lives and be eliminated. Deception and anti-deception, tricks and counter-tricks, the battle between the players from the two camps had officially begun. In this Zhong Kuei event, while luck was important, intelligence was even more important. In less than half an hour after the event began, There were already players from the Celestial Masters faction who had advanced to Zhong Kuei through stratagems, and players from the zombie camp who had evolved to Jianchun, greatly improving their abilities. The intensity of the battle continued to rise. At this moment, former friends might not be friends anymore, and former enemies might not be enemies anymore. Camps were the key to distinguishing between friend and foe. As long as they were players from the same camp, they were all brothers. If they were players from the opposing camp, even if they had just become sworn brothers in the Mansion of the Dead yesterday, they would still use evil smiting, bloodlust, and send them back to the resurrection point of the Mansion of the Dead. As the event progressed, tricks and tricks emerged one after another. For example, a zombie squad would disguise themselves as heavenly masters, find lone heavenly masters, and recruit them into the squad. They would then deceive and kill them one by one. There were also heavenly masters who had mastered the yin-yang eye, leading a real heavenly master squad to massacre and suppress the zombie players. The players from the two camps had different abilities, each with their strengths and weaknesses. However, due to the long cooldowns of their skills, it was a problem that required careful consideration as to how to use them appropriately without wasting them. During the confrontation between tricks and tricks, there were many who thought they had a winning chance, but failed miserably. Of course, there were also many who succeeded, and each of them fought for the final victory for their own camp. As time passed, the players basically formed small groups. The slaughter turned into small groups or group battles. Since they could kill each other in one hit, maximizing the efficiency of their attacks was also an important factor. Intelligence was especially important at this moment. The advantage of the zombie players in the early stage gradually disappeared, and the Heavenly Masters camp, which had the most casualties in the early stage, began to rise. At this moment, some of the zombie players decided to play hiding, preparing to preserve the precious zombie bloodline for their camp. They hid, turned into Voldemort, and survived until the end of the event. After all, the zombie camp still had the advantage. If they could last until the end of the event, they would still be the winner. This trick was indeed effective. Since the Heavenly Masters camp moved in groups, it was very disadvantageous for them to search for zombies. If this continued, they would definitely lose. Therefore, they could only disband the group again and spread out to search. At this moment, these Voldemort appeared again and began to hunt down lone Heavenly Masters. It was not that the Heavenly Masters camp did not have a countermeasure. As more and more players evolved into Zhong Kuei and mastered the yin-yang eye, even if they were alone, they still had a great advantage in confrontation. At this moment, the Heavenly Masters camp players were extremely happy. As for the zombie players, their happiness disappeared. They all turned into Voldemort and fell into hibernation, the kind that would not wake up until the end of the event. Happy times were always short-lived. The players were still in high spirits when a notification for the end of the event sounded. Server announcement. The Zhong Kuei Subduing the Demons event has officially ended. The winner is the zombie camp. The ratio of the number of people in the camp is 0. 97-1. The final result appeared, but there was only a 3% difference in the number of people on both sides. At this moment, sighs and cheers sounded at the same time. Many of the Heavenly Masters camp players were vexed. They felt that they could have won the event in half an hour, or even less. However, everything was a foregone conclusion, so there was no point in being vexed. On the other hand, the zombie players were excited. They felt lucky that the event was over. Otherwise, they would not have been able to compete with the Heavenly Masters camp players in the later stages. Just as the players were discussing it, the game notification sounded again. Server announcement. Event reward released. Zombie camp. Jianshan's gift pack. Random reward. Rare item drop rate increased by 3 times. Server announcement. Event reward released. Heavenly Masters camp. Heavenly Masters gift pack. Random reward. Upon seeing the event reward, many of the Heavenly Masters camp players who were still vexed over the event's final outcome could not help but smile. They did not expect that the loser would receive a consolation reward. They did not understand why the stingy dog officials were so generous all of a sudden. Hence, the players began to comment on the forum and the event channel. Dog officials, don't think that I'll be happy. I'm not happy at all, arms akimbo, dog officials, for the sake of the event reward. I'll give you a compliment. Not really. Dog officials, don't think that you can bribe me with rewards. Even if you bribe me, I'll still call you dog officials, arms akimbo. JPG. Although they were slightly touched, the players did not bow their heads at all. Every one of them looked exactly like Lil Bailey. Of course, there were also sincere blessings and gratitude. The flood of words of gratitude warmed Lu Wu's heart. Once again, he confirmed that he was on the right path. In fact, Lu Wu had been thinking about a problem. That was, how should he treat the players? If he wanted to maximize the benefits, he could control the players by force and build a place like the Lord God's space in the novels. He could force the players to survive and become stronger, constantly squeezing out their value. People like him, who grew up with the players, accompanied them behind the scenes, and, considered for the players' sake, were usually called saints. Because he did not know how to maximize the benefits, he was too kind. However, he had experienced 2 years with the players, built the Bakey army together, built the Mansion of the Dead and Bakey together. This feeling of interdependence made Lu Wu feel very comfortable, and he had a clear conscience. Although there were strong and weak players among the players, they were full of vitality. This had already proved that his choice was right. He did not need to choose the strongest one, like breeding a poisonous insect. Reality had proven that his reward was an army of players, not just a few outstanding warriors. Looking at the forum and the chat channel, the players flooded the screen with shouts. Fight for a lifetime, never give up. Lu Wu could not help but laugh. Instead, he lowered the production rate of the rare items in the event gift packs. As the players continued to open the gift packs, the soul coins in the storage were converted into items. The soul coins were running out, so all of them were unlucky. Chapter 549. After the Taoist Master Exorcism quest ended, players from all corners of the land of Bakey flocked to the Lioli coast. It was already 11 o'clock, and the Hungry Ghost Festival event was coming to an end. The last event was the Ghost Lamp Remembrance. The players were puzzled by this event. They did not understand the purpose of this event. There was no material reward, only a reward of Een Karma, which they had never heard of before. However, in the players' opinion, the stupid officials would never cheat them even if they were willful. After all, the only weakness of the stupid officials was their stinginess. However, when the players arrived at the Underworld Sea, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. The Underworld Sea that they were familiar with had undergone a huge change. Under the deep sea, clusters of blue flames were burning. Under the bright moonlight, one could occasionally see a blurry figure flashing under the water. The players were very curious about the scene in front of them. What the players did not know was that this change in the Underworld Sea was not caused by Lu Wu. It was a natural change in the Underworld Sea. On the 15th of July, the gates of hell would open. As the 6 paths of reincarnation were located in the Underworld Sea, many souls that had yet to be reincarnated would be released by the 6 paths of reincarnation and begin to wander in the Underworld Sea. At this moment, they had all turned into lonely souls, wandering aimlessly. Just then, a game notification rang. Event announcement. Players, please complete the final Hungry Ghost Festival quest before 12 o'clock. After the game notification appeared, the players immediately took out the 2 free items from this event. Dim lamp and letter. Although it was a game event, it was undoubtedly ridiculous for most players to place their thoughts on the deceased elders in the game. However, for some reason, just by gazing at the Underworld Sea that had changed, their thoughts were surging like spring water. Many of their blurry faces became clear again. The words that once annoyed them rang again, filled with memories and thoughts. At this moment, many players' vision blurred. They looked at the letter in their hands, then bought a pen from the shop and printed their thoughts on the letter in the form of words, hoping that it would float away with the ghost lamp. As for whether it was real or not, the players did not care anymore. At least they were comforted. At this moment, the joyous atmosphere of the festival was diluted. There was no sound of the players talking on the Lioli coast. Everyone stood still and looked at the sea. As they stared at the deep blue sea under the moonlight, their thoughts surged. Suddenly, A few players burst into tears. The sudden cries didn't cause the players around them to look at them in confusion, because every single one of them was like this. Their emotions had suddenly gone out of control. At this moment, the yellow spring sea was like a mirror leading to his past memories. Lover, friends, elders. One by one, they appeared in his mind. Like a slideshow, the feelings of longing flowed from the bottom of his heart, overflowing. At this moment, the players were writing very seriously, infusing their thoughts into their words. It was as if this dim lamp could really bring this longing to the person she wanted to see, but could never see again. During the process of depositing the tributes, some of the players took out their soul coins and turned them into a wisp of blue mist and deposited them into the ghost lantern. There were also players who put in precious spiritual materials. Then, the players released the blue nether lamps into the underworld sea and slowly floated into the distance. As time passed, more and more lanterns floated on the surface of the deep blue sea. However, the players all stared at the surface of the sea in silence. No one spoke, and the atmosphere was exceptionally quiet. At this moment, the once turbulent sea was also exceptionally calm, as if it was afraid that the waves would extinguish the candlelight on the ghost lantern. The seawater clustered around the ghost lantern like a group of loyal guards and carefully pushed it into the distance. The candlelight on the ghost lantern swayed across the long distance, summoning the person who was missed. This formless longing turned into an extremely strong signal at this moment, continuously cast into the distance and conveyed to the person who was missed. At this moment, the players suddenly discovered that countless blurry figures rushed out of the leaping flames at the bottom of the sea and emerged on the surface of the water. They circled around the ghost lantern, searching carefully. Seeing this scene, many players suddenly burst into tears. For some reason, they felt that the blurry figure that stopped in front of their ghost lantern was very familiar, as if they had seen it before, as if it was that person who they could never see again. This was just a game. Many players sighed in their hearts, but for some reason, their emotions burst out uncontrollably, and tears flowed uncontrollably. This was because this blurry figure looked very much like the person who had passed away. Eat until you're full," many players murmured, thinking that they were very embarrassing, and wiped away their tears. But when they turned their heads and looked around, the players around them were just like them, or even worse. Time passed bit by bit, but the players kept their eyes fixed on the sea, looking at the blurry figure. They recalled the past that they had experienced with him or her. Among these lonely souls were elders, relatives, and friends, but without exception, they had a happy or sad memory with the player they were missing at this moment, but it was bound to be unforgettable. At this moment, the lonely soul figure on the sea surface pushed the lotus petals on the ghost lantern bit by bit, reading the longing on it and eating the player's tributes. At this moment, many lonely souls looked at the figure on the shore. Although they could not communicate with words, at this moment, they felt the longing in the heart of the person who missed them. Countless golden spots of light emerged from their blurry figures. Like fireflies, they covered the entire sea and slowly floated to the players on the shore. This was a gift from the lonely souls, and it was also their reply to this longing. When the golden spots of light floated to their side, the players couldn't help but reach out and take the wisp of gold. However, the golden spots of light merged into the players' bodies the moment they touched them. It was just a blurry wisp of emotion and a little bit of virtue, but it made the players cry again. Time passed bit by bit. The players looked at the sea surface, the ghost lantern, and the blurry figure, quietly feeling and reminiscing. The ghost lantern moved further and further away. The lonely souls followed the lantern, and their figures also gradually became blurry. The Hungry Ghost Festival event ended soon after. This time, however, the players were not as noisy and joyous as before. They felt as if they had experienced a parting, and their hearts were filled with reluctance. They still looked at the sea surface, the longing in their hearts not fading away, like the flames still burning on the lamp. When the lights flowed away with the flowing water, it also symbolized that the figure would never return, but the ghost lantern that carried the players' longing illuminated the way for the departed soul to return. The boat moved further and further away. Chapter 550. Although it was just a scene in the game, it evoked the longing in their hearts. It was a good idea, but when we entered it, what the F***CK, a big wolf dog replied to invincible loneliness. Boss, I'm with you every day. Why didn't I know? Their battlefield shouldn't be here. You'll know when the players reach that level. Luwu nodded as he thought of Hitorigami, who was beaten up by the demonic god. He then asked curiously, also, a word of advice for the weaker players. This map is a little difficult to explore. Luwu was relieved after hearing that. He then asked, however, what caught the attention of the players watching the video was the ground under their feet. It was also on this day that a post in the forum became a hot topic among the players. It even caught Lu Wu's attention. Lu Wu was also shocked by the mountain of corpses. Is he safe now that he's emotionally stable? Although he knew that the land of Naraka had the highest combat power among all the big regions, he didn't expect its former owner to be so terrifying. In the forum, Bailey nodded as she looked at the dumbfounded Lu Wu. My companions were all killed by the zombie energy. It's so F***king scary. Now I suspect that the desolation of the land of Senluo has something to do with this thing. After a while, Lil Bailey exited the artifact and turned to look at Lu Wu. The land of Senluo wasn't this desolated before. During the reign of the Senluo Nether clan, this land was full of vitality and the environment was great. No, it's only the most comprehensive cultivation system in the underworld. There are still many that are stronger than it. For example, the heaven sealing power that you mastered back then. That's the real invincible existence. It's easy to fight someone of a higher level. As long as you're hit by it, your entire body will be sealed by the divine power and you'll be killed in one blow. Bailey waved her hand as she spoke, mimicking Bailey releasing the heaven sealing chain. Yes, he was the strongest person below the Great Emperor. He created the largest cultivation system in the underworld, the Naraka Dao. What he learned was all-encompassing, and it was the origin of many cultivation systems in the underworld. The subsequent techniques, like the Azura Dao, also evolved from the Naraka Dao. That's why I said back then that the Azura Dao cultivation system was still a far cry from the Naraka Dao. Invincible loneliness. The land of Senluo? Damn, this land is located to the south of Beiki. This is the hometown of the demonic god. Seems like Hitorigami was one of the rulers of this land a long time ago. Lu Wu was speechless. The past life of the demonic god? Lu Wu quickly followed up on the topic. When Lil Bailey heard this, he put down his snacks in dissatisfaction. However, he still obediently closed his eyes and entered the forum. Why? Although they were always scolding the lousy officials in the forum, deep down in their hearts, they hoped more than anyone else that Battle Royale would continue to operate better and better. When I first met you, I had the same mentality as you now, comparing the demonic god to the Naraka realm's god, Bailey said with a look of disgust. You should have realized that many living beings would leave after breaking through to the godly state. Regardless of whether the person is an abyssal prefect or the overlord of the sea, the upper limit of the godly state is the godly state. This is the reason why the demonic god violated this rule. It wasn't because the great emperor of the East Mountain wanted to protect Hitorigami. I am indeed the best, Lu Wu said with a smile. It was like an abandoned, desolate world, without the slightest trace of life. The analysis panel appeared. However, the players only thought that it happened to be the Hungry Ghost Festival that day. They were influenced by the festive atmosphere in the game and did not think too much about it. As far as I know, the land of Senluo used to have two strongest forces. One was the Senluo Nether clan, and the second was the Corpse clan. The current situation is most likely due to the rise of the Corpse clan and the overthrow of the Senluo Nether clan's rule. After all, this mountain of corpses does not belong to the Senluo Nether clan. It seems more like something created by the Corpse clan. Do you think that the demonic god and the Naraka realm's god are very different? Lil Bailey suddenly raised her head and asked. On the second day after the Hungry Ghost Festival, The players were still discussing the content of yesterday's event. Of course, Lu Wu, who was not interested in money, rejected all the donations. I'm done. Every player had a different life path in the game. It was not a volcano, but a mountain of corpses. Amidst the discussion, the team in the screen was ready to retreat. The corpse energy rose into the air and turned into a corpse cloud. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, it turned into a corpse rain that washed over the ground. The pungent corpse stench was nauseating. What kind of concept was the Celestial Emperor? After experiencing the confrontation of burning soul coins, he had a preliminary understanding. This time, Lil Bailey did not hide anything. Attached picture, screenshot of the map of the land of Sunluo. The closer they got to the mountain of corpses, the darker their vision became. The corpse mountain in the screen was spewing out huge clouds of corpse energy. After thinking for a while, Lil Bailey continued, "Everyone can see that this land of Sunluo is just too freaking weird." Barbarian Warrior. I was one of the players who was captured by the corpse energy. When I fell into the mountain of corpses, I was so scared that I almost cried. Then I was killed instantly. Crying emoji, watermelon_Turo. What the F***CK? This scene is too realistic. I was scared too. This is more exciting than a real horror movie. Also, what's going on with that mountain of corpses? Content. That's not right. Then why could the evil demon god of the land of Sangshu kill all the living creatures in the region? He realized that he could not refute these words. Of course, it's because the god of hell path is powerful. Stop daydreaming. Although you were not from the same era as him in your past life, if you were to fight him, he would definitely be stronger. The power of the Naraka realm that he mastered and the cultivation system he created are two completely different concepts. Not only did he challenge the Great Emperor, he even challenged the Heaven Emperor. It was already the second day. After the event, the players' lives were back on track. Just like the slogan that the players shouted. Lil Bailey heard and nodded. "Oh, beginner Ghost Emperor, I told you, he almost advanced to the Great Emperor realm. How could he be weak? If he was not too crazy, he would not have fallen. Now, he would be the fourth Great Emperor of the underworld, Xidagarba." Bailey could not help but roll her eyes. Crayon_Shinchan. Looking at the introduction of Ho, it reminded me of a passage in the classic of Mountains and Seas. Another 10 miles to the east, there is a mountain of corpses. It is filled with azure jade, and there are many Ho beasts. The water of corpses flows south into the Luo River. It is filled with beautiful jade. It meant that 10 miles to the east of Mount Li was the mountain of corpses. There were corpses everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. It was a horrifying scene like hell. It was said that an unprecedented disaster happened here, and the people in the mountains within a radius of more than 20 miles were plunged into misery and suffering. The horrifying aura covered the sky, so it was renamed the Mountain of Corpses. So, I want to say, did the Battle League officials use the setting of the classic of Mountains and Seas to design the Sunluo realm? The Mountain of Corpses and Ho are very similar. As smart as I am, I can see through it at a glance. Tongwa arrogantly put his hands on his waist. Foodie, I suddenly remember why the demonic god was sealed again by the great emperor of Dongyu after he broke the seal. The players could not do anything about the lousy officials who refused to take the money, other than scolding them in the forum. However, the players' feelings for the Battle League had grown even deeper. That kind of situation was unacceptable to all the players. In the video, there were about 20 players chatting and laughing as they walked forward. However, as the video zoomed in, the true face of the volcano could be seen clearly. The players who were watching the video and the team in the video were shocked by the scene in front of them. Why? Lu Wu shook his head. To fight for a lifetime, never to leave. Hearing this, Lu Wu was stunned. By the way, is Hidarigami, who annihilated the entire clan of the demonic god, a member of the Corpse Clan? Naturally, Lu Wu also saw the memory fragments of the demonic god that Guyu saw. He could not help but ask curiously. Roasting Chong, while hugging the jade rabbit, replied to Crayon Shinchan. "Thank you for your explanation. While I'm at it, I'll smash your head. Are you angry?" Laughing emoji. Then why is it like this now? Lu Wu asked curiously. Greasy uncle. It's just a mountain of corpses. Wait for me and my brothers to flatten it. It's not scary at all. Laughing emoji. I don't know, but I'm guessing that the royal power of the Sunluo underworld clan has been overthrown. If they were still around, this region would not be like this. However, this is normal. The royal power is not eternal. It's inevitable for a new force to overthrow the old royal power. There's nothing to be surprised about. The south of Beiki has been cleared. I brought my team to have a look today and found out that the place is 2F King scary. It scared me to death. Slams table emoji. This is so F King annoying. Peppa Boar. There seems to be something interesting in the new region. When I return from the sea, I want to have a look. Invincible _loneliness replied to _large_wolf dog. When I climbed the cliffs of desperation, I was in a daze for a long time. At that time, I saw the memory fragments of the demonic god. He used to be the child of the giant clan in the land of Sunluo. In the end, his entire clan was massacred by Hitorigami, so he turned into the demonic god. Yes, he's very safe when he's emotionally stable. He won't be noticed by the heavenly realm. Don't worry, the god of Naraka is just the previous incarnation of the demonic god. Right now, he's just an ordinary god. He's still a long way from awakening. Besides, didn't a player named Guyu inherit the demonic god's heritage? The demonic god will not be our enemy. Lu Wu could not help but facepalm when he thought of the hot-headed demonic god. He felt that there was a huge gap between him and the god of Naraka. However, deep down, the players were getting more and more attached to this game. Do you know why the demonic god is still a god after reincarnation instead of starting from the beginning? Don't you think that this mountain of corpses is weird? Why is the land of Sunluo in such an environment? Lu Wu was shocked. Faced with such a horrifying scene, the 20 or so players in the video were at a loss. At the end of their sight, there was a volcano spewing thick black fog. At least to the players, it looked like a volcano. Because the demonic god did not agree to the treaty after he became a god. Did you forget that this guy wanted to kill the great emperor and become a skyscraper? The demonic god was one of the people who made this treaty in his previous incarnation. He has to abide by it, even after he reincarnated. This was also the reason why the players organized themselves to punish the clubs and guilds that destroyed the game's environment. Assassin's Creed. Where's the Great Devil King? Where's Bomberman? Time to get to work. Go blow him up. What's the big deal? Laughing emoji. At the peak of the mountain of corpses, shrouded by the thick fog of corpses, pairs of huge red eyes glowed with scarlet light. Accompanied by the roars, the ground shook, the corpses rained down, and the dark clouds sank. It was as if the whole world was crawling under the feet of these ferocious beasts. Creature details. An evil creature bred by the mountain of corpses. It feeds on the aura of corpses and the essence of the sun and the moon. It is controlled by the mountain of corpses. It is cruel and has no ability to think. The twisted roots plunged into the ground after landing. The thick aura of corpses seeped into the ground. Soon, palms, heads, legs, and various organs broke out of ground. Shueli _the strongest. Hiss, what's going on in this forest? Why is it so scary? What was even more horrifying was that on top of the mountain of corpses, there were corpse trees full of broken human organs. They were being washed away by the rain of corpses. They swayed in the wind and fell after the rain stopped. The exact situation was like this. At that time, the snowy mountains in the Arctic abyss in the south had melted. So today, I brought my guild brothers there to check the situation. In the end, I discovered that the snowy mountains were gone and the path to the south was directly open. That's right, Hitorigami should be a member of the Corpse Clan. Besides, he was probably the leader of the Corpse Clan back then. After all, he was extremely talented. If he hadn't accidentally angered the demonic god, causing him to be unable to cultivate and could only heal himself, he could have been a demigod or even a god by now. Some of them tried to challenge the Ghost General trial. Some of them went out to sea to harvest the Sea King. Some of them worked hard to improve their life profession proficiency, some of them leveling up or exploring other regions. You guys should just watch the video. This is what we encountered in the Sunluo region. Of course, we were excited to discover a new region. So, we chose to continue moving forward. We wanted to be the first to enter this region and have a look. When the time comes, we could make a preliminary exploration map and post it on the forum to show off. Do you remember what I said? There was an ancient god who was so powerful that he almost became an emperor. Bailey was stuffing food in her mouth from time to time as she spoke. Out of curiosity, our guild members stepped into the new world in the south from the Arctic Abyss. Then, we found out that the back of the Arctic Abyss was a new region called the Sunluo region. In the 2 years since the server was launched, the players had collected donations for the battle campaign several times because they were afraid that the battle campaign would shut down due to financial problems one day. Of course, what do you think? The super antique god of Naraka is an even more unstable factor than your previous life. After reincarnation, he was still too emotional and had to be suppressed. Otherwise, the heavenly realm would definitely notice. Even if you didn't seal him in your previous life, the emperor would definitely take action. This is also why you let the old man, Bei Ming, guard the demonic god at the cliffs of desperation and only released him when his emotions had stabilized. Fortunately, after taking revenge, the demonic god's evil tendencies subsided and his emotions stabilized. The old man has completed your mission and released him according to your instructions. If the Ghost Emperor tier and God tier were insurmountable barriers, then the God tier and Emperor tier were the same. They were not even on the same level. At this moment, a sudden earth-shattering roar attracted the attention of everyone in the team. The popular pinned post about Corpse Hill also attracted Lil Bei Li's attention. The gap is too big. The demonic god is like an immature child. He's silly and doesn't have the demeanor of a powerhouse. At the end of the video, all the players were swept away by the corpse energy and fell into the Corpse Hill. None of them managed to escape. Foodie, check the forum. There's a new discovery. Luwu said immediately. On top of the Corpse Hill, there were huge red gems moving up and down like hearts. It was strange and terrifying. What the F*** CK is the land of Sunluo so scary? While the players were discussing about it, Luwu naturally noticed the popular post. So, the demonic god was this powerful back then. Luwu said in realization, it's gone, it's too scary. At this moment, the players who were watching the video had an illusion that the Corpse Hill was slowly expanding. Lil Bailey shook her head. Especially the last Ghost Lamp Remembrance event, it made countless players shed tears. Following the principle of asking Bei Li if he didn't understand, Luwu immediately got up and found Lil Bei Li, who was watching TV in the living room while munching on snacks. The soil on the ground was brown, as if it had been roasted by fire. There was no vegetation along the way. Are you talking about the Naraka realm god? Luwu suddenly remembered who it was. Is the Naraka realm, created by the demonic god in his past life, the strongest cultivation system in the underworld? It was as if he had seen the figure that he would never see again. But at this moment, countless black corpse energy pillars rose into the sky and fell toward the players like meteors. Luwu nodded in realization. Attached video, author's words. If you can't open it, it means that your phone is not good. Our phones from 2,300 years ago can open attached videos when reading novels. Luwu nodded. Chapter 551. The discussion about the Sunluo region had yet to end. Players were always curious about new worlds that they had never set foot in. Although the environment of the new region was a little terrifying, it couldn't stop the players from exploring the unknown. Apart from life players, a large number of players had crossed the Arctic Abyss and entered the new world of the Sunluo region. Among them were Lu Zhongshi's exploration team, the newly formed Sunluo region resource exploration team, and a lot of fearless players who wanted to watch the mountain of corpses erupt. After all, they had a lot of lives. However, a long-awaited revolution was taking place in the Sunluo region. Sunluo region, Netherlord City. The city had long since become dilapidated. The jade-paved ground was full of cracks, and not a single building was intact. It was a complete mess. In the center of the city, there was an enormous corpse mountain that occupied a quarter of the city. It moved up and down as if it had a life of its own, spewing thick black fog. This corpse mountain was even larger than the one the players had encountered before. Countless ugly corpse trees were rooted on it, absorbing nutrients from the earth. At the peak of the mountain of corpses, a dozen or so young beasts surrounded a blood-colored coffin like guards. Many humanoid life forms hung around the coffin. Their faces were pale, and a vine-like plant grew out of their chests. With every contraction, a large amount of vitality was extracted from their bodies and channeled into the coffin through the vines. These humanoid life forms had blue skin, and their eyes were as bright as gems. Their arms were tattooed with the unique mark of the Nether race. As the former ruler of the Sanluo region, their current situation couldn't be described as miserable. At this moment, a figure appeared above the corpse mountain. This person wore dark green armor and held a soul-devouring staff. With a wave of his hand, a huge ghostly claw appeared and smashed toward the corpse mountain. Roar! The sudden attack alarmed the Yong guarding the corpse coffin. They roared and leaped into the air, pouncing toward the intruder. Open Yong! With a shout, the sky above the corpse mountain was covered by a black spiritual fish. Countless spirits were summoned from all directions and pounced on the Yong. Soul, refining seal. Several imprints materialized along the trajectory of the spell and imprinted themselves onto the bodies of the Yong beasts as the ghosts feasted on them. The marks slowly seeped into the Yong beasts' bodies and began to absorb their vitality. In a head-on clash, this man had the absolute advantage. However, the Yong beasts that were surrounded by the spirits seemed to be unharmed. After a brief struggle, they pounced at the man again. Seeing this, the man's face darkened. He held the soul-devouring staff in front of his chest, and his eyes burned with green flames. Kakik! A hoarse, ear-piercing laughter rang out between heaven and earth as the power of ghosts and gods seeped into this space from all directions. With a smile of the myriad, I can descend to the netherworld and descend to the heavens. As the man finished speaking, invisible laughter filled the world like a demonic barrier. The oncoming Yong was immediately rooted to the spot. It began to struggle violently as blood seeped out of its body. Seeing this, the man didn't stop at all. He decisively rushed to the top of the corpse mountain where his clansmen were imprisoned. The appearance of the man did not make the trapped clansmen happy. Instead, their faces were filled with fear. Don't! The Netherworld clansmen were terrified as they struggled and shouted. The man was expressionless as he rushed straight to the mountain peak that was shrouded in corpse mist. At this moment, the corpse mist surged and quickly enveloped the mountain peak. The blood-colored coffin also trembled. Under the man's astonished gaze, a crimson figure slowly rose from the coffin. I've been waiting for you for a long time. The figure that appeared in the blood coffin looked at the approaching Netherworld clansmen and seemed very excited. Seeing Chi Yin walk out of the blood coffin, the man's expression suddenly changed. Chi Ba, aren't you breaking through? Breaking through? The clansmen that escaped from the corpse mountain must have told you this news. Chi Ba said and couldn't help but laugh. Hearing this, Yu Hong knew that he had been tricked. Chi Ba clearly wasn't breaking through and had been waiting for him. Thinking about how his clansmen had escaped from the corpse mountain with injuries and told him before his death was actually a lie, Yu Hong couldn't accept this. But when he recalled the situation at that time, he suddenly understood what had happened. He remembered that when he saw his heavily injured clansman, his eyes had already turned turbid. Thinking about it now, that clansman had clearly been controlled by Chi Ba. At that time, he had thought that his clansman had only become like that because he had been poisoned by the corpse poison. Clearly, his judgment had been wrong. At this moment, Yu Hong knew that it was difficult to deal with this. He immediately looked at Chi Ba and said, Chi Ba, return my clansman to me. I promise you that the Netherworld clan will leave the Sanluo region and never return. Do you know why I didn't kill your clansman? Because I was waiting for you, Chi Yin said with a sinister smile. Looking at the gloomy Yu Hong, Chi Ba continued. How about this? I'll give you a choice. Either hand over your Netherworld clan's 3,000 Ghost Dao spells, and you stay behind as my blood sacrifice, and I'll let your clansmen go. Or you stay behind and become my blood sacrifice with your clansmen. Choose. In Yu Hang's opinion, Chi Ba's suggestion was clearly unacceptable. His expression instantly became extremely gloomy. But he knew that within the range of the Corpse Mountain, he was definitely not Chi Ba's match. The Corpse race was no longer a force that was willing to be the Netherworld race's subordinate force, and their Sinluo Netherworld race was no longer the force that controlled the Sinluo region. Their identities had already been swapped. Now, he had no right to speak in front of Chi Ba. At this moment, Yu Hang's heart was filled with regret. The Corpse race's betrayal was something that he and his clansmen had never imagined. If he had known earlier, he would definitely have eliminated this root of trouble in advance. Back then, the Corpse race could be said to be completely obedient to the Netherworld race. They didn't even need to take the initiative to dispatch them. The Corpse race would do their best to deal with all hidden dangers for the Netherworld race and go on expeditions for them. Moreover, the Corpse race who went on expeditions were extremely loyal and plundered a large amount of resources and treasures for the Netherworld race. But what the Netherworld race didn't expect was that the Corpse race also continued to strengthen in the war. By the time the Corpse race used the countless experts' corpses obtained from the war to refine the Corpse Mountain, it was already too late for the Netherworld race to react. However, before this, the Netherworld race had always believed that the Corpse race didn't have the ambition or the strength to betray them. They didn't expect that it was precisely because of this that it led to such an irreversible outcome. With the support of the Corpse Mountain, the Corpse race's strength was different from before. In this war, the Netherworld race became weaker as the battle went on, while the Corpse race became stronger as the battle went on. They even used the corpses of the Netherworld race's clansmen to nurture several more Corpse Mountains. As the son of the Netherworld race's patriarch, Yu Hang had witnessed the entire process of the Netherworld race turning from prosperity to decline. If I had known that this day would come, my Netherworld race wouldn't have nurtured a tiger that would only invite calamity. Yu Hang said through gritted teeth as he looked at Chi Ba. Haha. After the Corpse race's ancestor disappeared, my Corpse race realized that we no longer had the strength to contend against your Netherworld race. So, for the sake of survival, our Corpse race took the initiative to surrender and willingly became your dog. To be an incomparably loyal dog that would bite wherever you pointed. But this dog has now rebelled against its master, Yu Hang said with a gloomy expression. Chi Ba nodded indifferently when he heard this. Yes, since it bit its master, then it should bite him to death and absolutely not give him a chance to turn things around. So, no matter what, don't think of leaving today. Stay behind and accompany your father. As he spoke, Chi Ba stretched out his hand and pointed at the nearby, shriveled figure that was bound by the branches of the corpse tree. Yu Hang's pupils suddenly constricted when he turned to look at this figure. Leave. The figure slowly raised its head, and its eyes were filled with a pleading expression as it looked at Yu Hang. Meanwhile, Yu Hang said, Chi Ba, don't you want my race's 3,000 Ghost Dao techniques? Yes, I do want it, but you must stay behind no matter what. Yu Hang gritted his teeth and said, I can give it to you, but let my father go first. Chi Ba instantly smiled when he heard Yu Hang say he was willing. He had coveted the 3,000 Ghost Dao techniques for a long time, especially the strongest technique of the 3,000 Ghost Dao techniques, the Sinluo triple laughter. So long as he was able to grasp the energy of the Ghost Dao, Extreme Dao, the Corpse race's strength would be able to rise another level. All right. Chi Ba lifted his hand and untied the vines binding him. Yu Hang's father's withered body instantly fell to the ground. Chi Ba wasn't worried about releasing the former patriarch of the Sinluo clan, because the vitality of this former expert had already been absorbed by Corpse Mountain. Even if he released it, he wouldn't be able to live for long. Chi Ba wasn't worried about any hidden dangers. At this moment, Yu Hang's father raised his head with difficulty and stared at Yu Hang as he weakly said, my clan's secret technique, absolutely cannot be handed over. Don't be a sinner of my clan." As he spoke, he voluntarily released the last of his vitality, and the surface of his body instantly turned grayish-black. Dead? Chiba was very surprised. Looking at his father, who had lost his vitality, Yu Heng's face was filled with disbelief. At this moment, Chiba looked at Yu Heng and sneered. "I released him. He sought death himself, so don't blame me. According to our agreement, give me your 3,000 ghost out techniques." "Die!" Yu Heng shouted angrily. He waved his hand and condensed a dark green ghost claw, which slapped toward Chiba. In the face of this attack, Chiba's expression didn't change. He didn't even move a step and let the ghost claw hit him. After being hit by the ghost claw, Chiba's skin suddenly turned black, and he forcibly withstood this attack. The furious Yu Heng was just about to attack again when a hoarse voice came from the side. "Go, go, you are our clan's last hope." Turning his head, he saw that it was the clan elders. At this moment, their eyes were filled with despair and a trace of pleading. Yu Heng's heart trembled. The anger in his heart made him unwilling to leave, but reason told him that staying would only lead to death. Only by leaving would he have a chance to take revenge. "Roar!" As he roared, Yu Heng turned and charged toward the black curtain of corpse energy. Bang! His body collided with the corpse energy barrier and was instantly bounced back. Yu Heng was unwilling to give up and charged toward the corpse energy barrier again. He unleashed a technique and began to forcefully attack it. However, the barrier that gathered the power of Corpse Mountain wasn't something Yu Heng could break. After being bounced back time and time again, coupled with the attacks of the young and the sky, his body gradually became stained with corpse energy. His skin turned gray, and he couldn't help but vomit blood. Seeing this scene, Chiba couldn't help but smile. He had already made full preparations, so how could he let Yu Heng leave like this? At this moment, Chiba had a mocking expression as he looked at Yu Heng, this wounded prey, like a hunter. He enjoyed Yu Heng's final struggle before death, and a smile appeared on his face. A moment later, just when Chiba felt that it was about time to attack, his expression suddenly froze, and he turned to look at the bottom of the corpse mountain. An old man and a woman with a delicate face were holding pickaxes and knocking on the heart-like rubies on a mountain of corpses, as if they were trying to dig them out from the mountain of corpses. Seeing this scene, Chiba was stunned for a moment, and then anger appeared on his face. This red, gem-like object was the energy node of the corpse mountain. Like a human heart, it acted as a transport of nutrients and energy. These two dared to come to the corpse mountain to dig for corpse spirit jade. They were simply audacious. But then Chiba was dumbfounded. Seeming to find that it was difficult to dig it out, the old man pointed at the corpse spirit jade and opened his mouth. Then the delicate woman standing next to him suddenly pounced on the corpse spirit jade and began to chew on it. Chiba couldn't help but be dumbfounded because this delicate woman could actually chew on the corpse spirit jade and even swallow it. If he wasn't certain that there was no such person in the corpse race, Chiba would have suspected that this woman was also a member of the corpse race. Because the corpse spirit jade was condensed from the corpse energy of the corpse mountain, it was filled with incomparably pure corpse energy. Other than the corpse race, any living creature that swallowed it would instantly be poisoned, and their vitality would be drained away. However, this delicate woman very quickly ate a large piece of corpse spirit jade. Seeing the woman pounce on the second corpse spirit jade, Chiba was completely enraged. However, at this moment, the corpse energy barrier had formed at the top of the corpse mountain. If he wanted to leave, he had to undo the barrier, but if he did so, Yu Heng would also escape. This made Chiba feel very uncomfortable. How can she eat it so quickly? Seeing the flow of time devour the second corpse spirit jade in the blink of an eye, Chiba's heart was bleeding. At this moment, the flow of time pounced on the third corpse spirit jade. At this moment, Chiba finally couldn't bear it anymore and roared at the young in the sky. "Kill him!" With that, Chiba waved his hand to disperse the corpse energy barrier, and his figure sped towards the area where Tang Mu and the flow of time were. At this moment, Tang Mu was chuckling as he looked at the flow of time eating, a gratified expression on his face. The flow of time was a technique puppet, and, as it leveled up, it had developed initial intelligence. This made Tang Mu even more determined to find high-quality spirit ores and spirit materials to help the flow of time upgrade. This time, the Leon Sanluo region was exactly the same. During the exploration, he inadvertently came to this nether city and approached the Corpse Mountain. However, Tang Mu didn't expect that the flow of time would tell him that it was very interested in the red gem on the Corpse Mountain. Therefore, Tang Mu didn't hesitate to use the flow of time to climb the Corpse Mountain. After approaching the Corpse Spirit Jade, Tang Mu analyzed it and found out that this Corpse Spirit Jade was actually a level 6 spirit material. Although the analysis said that the corpse energy inside was very dense and one would be poisoned by it. However, this was clearly not suitable for the flow of time, which was a clever person. Therefore, Tang Mu wasn't worried at all. He bought digging tools in the mall and prepared to start on the Corpse Spirit Jade on the Corpse Mountain. However, it was very difficult for the pickaxe to destroy the Corpse Spirit Jade. Every time a hole was poked, it would automatically repair itself. Just as Tang Mu was worrying about this, the flow of time indicated that it could directly chew on it. Therefore, a scene that made Chi Ba dumbfounded appeared. Seeing the flow of time waste the Corpse Spirit Jade, Chi Ba finally couldn't sit still. Chapter 552. At that moment, Nie Feng suddenly opened his mouth and said, after all, he was the eldest in the team, and he was only the second eldest. Before the third eldest arrived, he could only be at the bottom. I'm serious. He could not help but glare. He was about to answer when Yu Heng, who was lying on the ground, suddenly raised his head. He and Nie Feng were so shocked that they could not help but take a few steps back. Chi Ba, Ghost Emperor Peak. Seeing Chi Ba's analysis menu, Tang Mu was shocked again. At that moment, the man walking behind suddenly raised his head and said, I'm just cooperating with you. What's wrong? Nie Feng looked a little wronged. Seeing that Tang Mu was injured, Flowing Time's wooden face showed anger. He reached out and was about to hit Chi Ba, but Tang Mu's fingers trembled slightly and stopped Flowing Time. Do you know how to make healing potions? He rolled his eyes. Why do I feel like you're becoming more and more abnormal? Looking at Nie Feng, he had a helpless expression. So, do you want to kill him? Nie Feng looked at Yu Heng, who was lying on the ground, with a mocking expression. Puppeteer? I remember now. The 7 elders also have such a tattoo. Looking at the tattoo, he suddenly remembered where he had seen it before. As his HP was depleted, he instantly turned into a black fog and dissipated with Flowing Time. At that moment, a figure was hurtling towards them from the sky at an extremely fast speed. How can you be so wicked? Can we do that? Seeing this, Tang Mu's heart tightened. Now that the Ghost Emperor zombie spirit is gone, your mobile bomb zombie is gone too. However, he decided in his heart that he would do it again when he was resurrected. Now that he was facing Chi Ba, who was at the Ghost Emperor Peak realm, he knew that he had no chance. As an apothecary with a strong spirit of research, in order to try out new prescriptions, he decided to mention it to he every day and subtly influenced the great demon king to agree. The figure he cared about the most, covered in blood, broke through the nightmare beast blockade and flew into the distance. Save. Before he could finish his sentence, Yu Heng suddenly lost consciousness and fainted. Character information. One of the 3 emperors of the Corpse Clan, with the strength of the Ghost Emperor Peak realm, about to break through to the demigod realm. He lowered his head to look at the corpse sapling. His expression became extremely strange. You're still eating? Chi Ba roared as he stared at the time current, which was still chewing on his food. Behind the Arctic abyss, north of the Sanluo region, a mountain of corpses would have at least 1,000 corpse chi jades. How could he give it up? Boom! The punch sent the figure descending from the sky flying, and Chana's zombie spirit was sent flying as well. In order to save him, I obtained the inheritance of the Netherworld race. However, the most important part of the inheritance, the Sinluo's 3 smiles, is incomplete. Perhaps he has a way to help me. Thank you, great demon king. Seeing Chi Ming's reply, He turned to look at Niefeng helplessly. He had been planning this for a long time, but unfortunately, he didn't know how to refine corpses. So, the first step was stuck. I'll cooperate with you. Get lost, he's not dead yet. It's very familiar. It should be the zombie spirit you lost. Congratulations. Niefeng nodded cooperatively. It's useful? Niefeng was dumbfounded. The sapling of the corpse tree didn't grow at all, as if it hadn't absorbed any vitality. Time Current raised his head and looked at Chiba blankly, then at Tang Mu. Then, he lowered his head and continued chewing. Yu Heng's face was grayish-black, and his body was surrounded by corpse energy. The corpse poison was constantly destroying his bodily functions. Two figures were walking forward leisurely. The man walking in front had a carefree look on his face as he walked and looked around. The man behind him had his head lowered, as if he was thinking about something. In order to steal ores in the land of the 9 luminaries, he had been beaten and killed by the Rahu warriors many times. This was because he clearly felt that the white-haired man in front of him had vitality in his body, but not a single bit of it leaked out until he died. This was obviously against the law of reincarnation. Before he finished speaking, Hui's eyes suddenly focused on the Netherworld race tattoo on Yu Heng's arm. Just then, a hoarse laugh came from the top of the corpse mountain. Chiba turned around, and his pupils shrank. He didn't want Time Current to get hurt. Senluo's second smile. Corpse poison? Hui wrinkled his nose. As an expert in corpse research, he could immediately tell what was wrong with this person. Seeing this, Chiba waved his hand, and a corpse energy emerged from his hand. It rolled up Time Current and sucked him into his hand. Character status. Normal. What the F***CK? Can you be normal? Hui said angrily. Chiba couldn't understand such a strange scene. Previously, he saw the players discussing in the forum that the strongest creature in the Corpse Mountain was the Ghost Emperor, Chiba, but he didn't expect there to be a stronger creature. Then let's kill him. It's just a matter of time. However, the only zombie Forge Master was right in front of him. How could he be willing to give up? Tang Mu's arrival had completely ruined his plan. Moreover, this person turned into a black fog after his death, leaving no trace behind. This was the first time Chiba had seen something like this. Great Demon King, I think the plan to refine a bomb zombie is absolutely feasible. As long as we work together, we can make a very powerful mobile bomb. By then, you can control the corpse remotely, and I can detonate the bomb remotely. We'll be invincible. Tang Mu didn't resist, knowing that he had to return to Beiki. Yuheng, middle stage, Ghost Emperor? Hui blurted out when he saw the analysis message. Amidst the laughter, the Chiba began to kill each other like crazy demons. The reason why the zombie clan could become stronger as they fought was because of the enemy's vitality and the constant replenishment of their corpses. If their opponents were all like these creatures, the zombie clan's advantage would be gone. Hearing this, Hui realized something. His face froze, and he immediately patted the corpse-cultivating bag to summon Cha Na's zombie spirit. Seeing this, Chiba's eyes were about to burst into flames. Thick corpse energy emitted from his body, and he dragged his black shadow toward the direction where Yuheng had gone. At this moment, Chiba felt like vomiting blood. Time Current was a treasure in Tang Mu's heart. Although it was just a game, he didn't want it to get hurt. He shook his hands lightly, and transparent threads tightened. Following Tang Mu's manipulation, Time Current suddenly broke into pieces, turning into parts that separated from Chiba's hands and reassembled. What's wrong? Niefeng couldn't help but stare. Thinking of this, Chiba shuddered. That was too scary. Chiba's arrival shocked Tang Mu, and he immediately activated his analysis ability. I think you zombie Forge Masters are the ones who have the least respect for corpses. You're so immoral, digging up people's ancestral graves. Niefeng wanted to continue, but he shut his mouth when he saw Hui's murderous gaze. Both of them immediately walked toward it, and then habitually activated the analysis ability. If it weren't for the Rahu clan's increasing defense against the players in the land of the 9 luminaries, he wouldn't need to look for other resource points. Tang Mu nodded. I'm Tang Mu, the descendant of the Mechanic clan. Great Demon King, You should really consider it. Although it's a one-time consumable item, its power is amazing. Niefeng suggested again, unwilling to give up. After a while, Qi Ming replied, "The one who was killed was the puppet master. So why did the puppet disappear too?" "Great Demon King, you have to be brave enough to try." Niefeng was about to lecture him when he suddenly looked up at the sky not far away. Seeing this, Qi Ba was stunned. "Huh? This tattoo looks very familiar." Hui was a little surprised. Save me." The corpse energy jade on the mountain of corpses was the high-level spiritual material he was looking for. After eating 3 of them, his time flow leveled up by 2 levels. "Great Demon King, you have to keep your promise. Even the heavens want us to work together to create a bomb zombie. And here it is." Perhaps this thing was poisonous in the eyes of others, but it was a treasure in Tang Mu's eyes. "Invincible, my ass. Don't tarnish the zombie forge masters. Please show some respect to the dead." Hui turned around and slapped Niefeng's head. "Great Demon King, why don't we start with him and create a ghost emperor bomb zombie?" Niefeng continued to instigate. As they passed by the area where the young beasts were killing each other, the young beast that had lost control suddenly pounced on Qi Ba and attacked him. "Can't you have other pursuits?" Hui couldn't help but roll his eyes. However, he was already used to death. He and Niefeng, who were standing at the side, were shocked. They immediately turned their heads to look at the figure covered in blood not far away. The moment the zombie spirit appeared, it raised its fist and punched at the figure flying towards it. "Get lost. Do you need help?" Niefeng asked from the side. "Nonsense. Those are all rumors," Hui said with a straight face. "Elder Qi Ming wants me to help heal his injuries. He said it's useful." Qi Ba was a little surprised to see his body suddenly shatter. He then turned to look at Tang Mu and said, "Tang Mu." As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Ba stomped his foot, and the corpse mountain spewed out a zombie energy pillar, locking Tang Mu in place. Then, a zombie energy tree sprouted from the ground and began to absorb the vitality in Tang Mu's body through the zombie energy pillar. "Interesting. I haven't seen a puppet master in a long time. Unfortunately, you've provoked me now, so you'll become nutrients for the corpse mountain. As for your puppet, I'll help you dismantle it." "I could give it a try." Niefeng smiled sheepishly. "Sigh, time to get to work. This kid is really lucky to have met me. If it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to handle the zombie poison." Hui walked to Yu Hang's side and squatted down. "Do you want to die?" Qi Ba looked at the zombie energy pillar and smiled hideously. "Although I joined the battle late, I heard from the dog that you used all means to kill Hitorigami." Niefeng said faintly. "I said no means no. Every corpse is extremely precious. How can I waste it like this? For these corpses, I've dug holes, climbed mountains, and dived into the sea. It's tiring. Unless I don't have to find corpses in the future and they fall from the sky, then I'll agree with you." Hearing this, Hui's heart thumped. To be honest, he was tempted. However, he was not in the mood to work with Niefeng to create a bomb zombie. He reprimanded him. "Yes, I didn't like explosions in the past. But after your persuasion, I understand that everyone has their own value, even if they have the ability to control natural disasters. Now, I understand that I'm pursuing the art of explosions. But now, you become a stumbling block on my path to pursuing the art of explosions. You're not cooperating at all." Ever since the conversation and persuasion, Hui felt as if Niefeng's conception and governing vessels had been opened up. He went from resistance to acceptance, and then to excitement. Now he had evolved into a husky. "Great Demon King, behind, behind!" Niefeng shouted hurriedly. "The 7 elders also have tattoos." Niefeng was a little surprised. Chapter 553. Faced with Qi Ming's request, Hui finally decided to treat Yu Heng with his own hands. The zombie poison that was extremely difficult to deal with for other players was a piece of cake for Hui. He immediately squatted down and began to check Yu Heng's current state. Then, he summoned the zombie spirits from the zombie soul bag. Then, he took out his tools and began to set up a formation to absorb zombie energy. In terms of materials, Hui was well prepared. With the help of the zombie spirits, the formation was set up in a short while. After activating the formation, a thick black fog seeped out of Yu Heng's body. Seeing this, he immediately manipulated the surrounding zombie spirits to devour the zombie energy. Although the zombie energy was highly toxic, it was a great tonic for the zombie spirits. Naturally, he would not waste it. After a round of devouring, the thick black fog in the air dissipated. Yu Heng's skin color returned to the Netherworld clan's blue instead of the previous grayish-black color. TSK. A zombie forge master can even heal injuries. Unbelievable. Seeing this, Nie Fong, who was standing at the side, was amazed. Unlike you, as an apothecary, not only do you not know how to save people, you don't even know how to concoct medicine. He could not help but roll his eyes. How can I not know how to concoct medicine? Isn't dynamite medicine? Isn't it? Nie Fong immediately retorted. Dynamite is medicine. He was stunned. Isn't it? Looking at the righteous Nie Fong, he felt that this guy had gone down the path of a husky and would never return. There was no way to save him. Ignoring Nie Fong, he removed the zombie energy from Yu Heng's body and opened the analysis menu to check on Yu Heng's current condition. When he realized that Yu Heng was still in a state of near-death, aggravated, he opened the menu in the shop and bought 2 healing pills to feed Yu Heng. Although there was an apothecary beside him, this apothecary was, after all, a fake. If he were to feed the pills he refined to Yu Heng would probably lose his last breath. He was well aware of this. After confirming that Yu Heng was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. Next, he just had to wait for Yu Heng to wake up. Looking at the zombie spirits beside, who seemed to be in high spirits after absorbing the zombie energy, Nie Fong said, "Great Demon King, it seems like Sunluo region is a good place for you, especially the Corpse Mountain in the forum video." "Nonsense. Why else would I be here?" He said impatiently. "I just thought about it. If a bomb could be as big as a mountain of corpses, how powerful would it be when it explodes?" Nie Fong sighed when he saw Hui looking at him in disgust. He felt that this teammate of his could not be changed at all. It would probably take some time before his mobile bomb corpse plan could be completed, but he would never give up. While Hui and Nie Fong were chatting, Yu Heng's internal injuries gradually began to heal. He had the body of a ghost emperor to begin with. Now that the corpse poison in his body had been dispelled and he had taken the healing medicine, his body's self-healing ability allowed him to recover quickly. As the sky gradually darkened, Hui and Nie Fong skillfully lit a fire nearby. Then they bought a batch of fresh ingredients from the shop and started cooking. For Hui, living in the wild was already a norm because he basically never stayed in the safe zone. It was a habit he had developed in Beiki. He felt uncomfortable staying in the city, especially at the resurrection point. He would rather sleep in a graveyard than at that place. At the end of the day, Hui still felt a shadow in his heart. Although he now had the strength to contend with Murphy and Little Pomelo's family, it was not something that could be erased in a short period of time. The days of being backstabbed and sent back to the respawn point was truly a deep impression of despair. Eating the food made from the high-end ingredients purchased from the mall, Hui appeared to be in a daze. In his mind, he recalled his 2 years of growth in the war. From crying and screaming to quit the game to becoming a member of the Wall Cheat Group, life was always full of uncertainty. "Great Demon King, your craftsmanship has improved again." "Very good." Nie Fong interrupted his thoughts. "Bomberman, let me ask you something. Release. What do you think will happen if Battle Royale disappears one day?" Hearing this, Nie Fong could not help but be stunned. After pondering for a moment, Nie Fong smiled bitterly and answered, "Life will return to normal. Going to work, getting off work, no more surprises. I hope that day never comes. I realize that I can no longer leave Battle Royale." Hui muttered, "Damn, Great Demon King, you made me depressed. But don't worry, the stupid official developers won't fall so easily. I guess this game will still exist on the day we die. I hope that the stupid official developers will come up with an account inheritance function so that my descendants can continue my unfinished research on the art of explosion." Hui, who was feeling a little sad, was suddenly amused by Nie Fong. "Don't. If the player dies, the game character will die with him. I should die later than you. Then I'll dig you out and refine you. Niefeng was not angry when he heard this. Instead, he nodded. That's fine too, but it must be a mobile bomb corpse. Being born in an explosion and dying in an explosion is simply the perfect art. Haha, you're like a F***king psycho. You're the psycho. How could you create such a crazy profession in the game? What do you know? Do you know the essence of refining zombies? Then do you know the art of explosion? The two of them couldn't help but laugh as they talked. Right at this moment, Yu Hung slowly opened his eyes. The moment he woke up, he noticed he and Niefeng sitting beside him. He immediately became alert, but his body had not recovered yet, so he couldn't get up at all. Great Demon King, he's awake. Niefeng, who noticed that Yu Hung had woken up, immediately reminded he nodded, got up, and walked to Yu Hang's side. He squatted down and looked at Yu Hung. How do you feel? Feeling the zombie poison that had faded from his body, Yu Hung knew that these two must have saved him. The vigilance in his heart faded. Thank you. I'll repay you generously in the future. Why don't we do it now? Niefeng couldn't help but interrupt. Looking at the stunned Yu Hung, he smiled and said, That's right. To tell you the truth, I saved you because I have a favor to ask. It wasn't out of kindness. Hearing this, not only did Yu Hung not show any dissatisfaction, he even nodded. In fact, Yu Hung didn't believe that the two in front of him had saved him out of kindness. He had lived for so long, but he had never met such a kind person. Under the cruel law of survival in the underworld, good people wouldn't live long. Selfless contributions might be nurturing a tiger that would invite disaster. That was how the Senluo clan was subverted by the Corpse clan. Now that Hui had a favor to ask, Yu Hung felt more at ease. Tell me, I'll do my best. I'll agree. I need the samsara laughs. Hui answered immediately. What? The samsara laughs. Yu Hang's face instantly turned pale. He didn't expect to fall into the tiger's mouth again after escaping from Chiba's clutches. I won't give it to you even if I die, Yu Hung said with a livid face. Why? This is my clan's secret book. Although I'm indebted to the two of you, it's too much to exchange it for the samsara laughs. My life isn't worth it compared to the samsara laughs. Hui was slightly surprised. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, How about this? When my friend arrives, he'll talk to you. After all, my friend entrusted him to treat you. As for whether he can get the samsara laughs from you, that's his business. Other than the Senluo clan, it's impossible for other clans. Sun Luo rejected immediately. You'll know when you see him. Hui answered indifferently. All right. How did you get injured? Hui asked curiously. When he was treating Yu Hung, he realized that the corpse energy in Yu Hang's body was extremely pure. This is a good thing for Hui, as it could help his corpse spirit grow. Do you know about Chiba? Yu Hung asked without hiding anything. Chiba? I don't know. I only know about Hitorigami. Niefeng couldn't help but interrupt. Drought? Drought demon? Yu Hung had an expression of disbelief when he heard that. How could he not have heard of the two words, drought demon? The previous supreme leader of the Corpse clan was Hitorigami. Back then, the Corpse clan and the Nether clan were on equal footing because of Hitorigami. However, this incomparably powerful king of the Corpse clan suddenly disappeared. That was why the Corpse clan chose to surrender to the Nether clan and willingly became the Nether clan's dog. In the end, it was because without Hitorigami, the Corpse clan no longer had the power to resist the Nether clan. Although he wasn't born when the Corpse clan's patriarch disappeared. He had often heard about this legendary patriarch of the Corpse clan from his elders since he was young. When he heard Niefeng mention Hitorigami, he couldn't help but be stunned. You've heard of Hitorigami? Not only have I heard of him, I've even seen him with my own eyes. Niefeng rolled his eyes. Nonsense. Hitorigami has disappeared for a long time. How could you have seen him? If I told you that I see him every other day, would you believe me? Bullsh asterisk T. At this moment, Yu Hung couldn't hold it in anymore. Do you want to make a bet? Do you believe that I can make Hitorigami appear in front of you on the spot? Niefeng mocked. Bet on what? Senluo's 3 laughs. No, Senluo's 3 laughs is my clan secret. Using it as a bet is blasphemy to my clan's patriarch. Anyway, if you think that I'll definitely lose, how can a bet that I'll definitely win be called a bet? Nief Feng continued to instigate. Hearing this, Yu Heng revealed a puzzled expression. Of course, he still didn't think that Nief Feng had seen Hitorigami. After all, the era that Hitorigami lived in was too long ago. Therefore, he felt that it was probably just a person with the same name and surname, and definitely not the former leader of the Corpse Clan, Hitorigami. I think you've misunderstood. I'm talking about the Corpse Clan's Hitorigami, not the person you know. Yu Heng shook his head. I'm also talking about your Corpse Clan's Hitorigami, the one who grasps the power of chi and blood, can emit flames all over his body, and likes to live in a blood-colored coffin. Nief Feng said immediately. Where did you see Hitorigami? Yu Heng's heart tightened when he heard Nief Feng's description. He subconsciously thought that the disappeared Hitorigami had returned to the land of Sunluo. This was definitely not good news for him. The current Corpse Clan was already so powerful. If a returned Hitorigami was added, then it would be extremely difficult for him to take revenge. Back then, he heard from his seniors that the Corpse Clan's patriarch, Hitorigami, was extraordinarily talented and had limitless potential. Fortunately, he disappeared. Otherwise, it would be hard to say what the future of the Nether Clan would be like. After all, although the Corpse Clan was weak at that time, under the leadership of Hitorigami, they were able to fight against the Nether Clan. Most importantly, Hitorigami was extraordinarily talented and had great potential for growth. As long as he was given time, he would definitely be the Nether Clan's nightmare. Thinking of this, Yu Heng's heart turned cold. It had been so long. He couldn't imagine how powerful the returned Hitorigami would be. Even his descendants, Chi Ba and the other 3 sovereigns of the Corpse Clan, were about to break through to the demigod realm. Did that mean that Hitorigami might have already become a god? Looking at Yu Heng, whose expression was uncertain and whose eyes were filled with fear, Nief Feng patted Hui's shoulder and said, "Great Demon King, show him your treasure. It's time to act tough." Chapter 554. Under Yu Heng's incredulous gaze, Hui summoned a zombie spirit from the corpse cultivating bag. To be precise, it was a half-refined zombie spirit. It was Hitorigami, who he loved and hated Hitorigami at the same time. He was extremely helpless. Other than Cha Na's zombie spirit, this Hitorigami had been with him for the longest time. However, Hitorigami's physical strength was too high. Until now, he was only in a half-refined state, unable to completely refine it. Because of this, he would take it out of the corpse cultivating bag every 2 or 3 days to observe and study it. This was also the reason why Nief Feng often saw Hitorigami. He and Nief Feng did not think much of Hitorigami, but Yu Heng was dumbfounded. Hitorigami. That's right, it's the real deal. Nief Feng chuckled, as if Hitorigami's corpse belonged to him. Where did you get it? Yu Heng still could not recover from the shock. He had heard too many legends about Hitorigami. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he was even a little scared. Calm down, this guy is already dead. Hui said immediately. Dead? Yu Heng was stunned when he heard that. He immediately looked at the corpse cultivating bag hanging on Hui's waist. You're from the Corpse Forge Master clan? That's right. Hitorigami is one of my zombie spirits. Hui nodded and answered. Yu Heng was completely stunned when he heard that. Using Hitorigami as a zombie spirit, he did not know what to say. Thousands of words converged in his heart into one word. Awesome. Where did you find Hitorigami's corpse? Yu Heng quickly asked. That's none of your business. Anyway, Hitorigami is my zombie spirit, Hui said with a smile. Yu Heng did not pursue the matter. After all, it was someone else's secret. After staring at Hitorigami for a moment, Yu Heng asked again, Have you refined it? His words made the smile on Hui's face freeze instantly. TSK. Such an uncooperative, pretentious guy. Just kill him. Nief Feng could not help but smile. He seemed to enjoy seeing the great Demon King, who had been suppressing him, being defeated. No, Hui said angrily. I can help you, Yu Heng said suddenly. His words instantly energized Hui. He looked at Yu Heng with bright eyes and asked, What's wrong with you? You have a way? Yes, I have mastered the 3,000 arts of the Ghost Dao, and one of them is related to refining. Although it is different from the corpse refining art of you corpse refiners, it can still be of assistance. What do you need? You don't need any spiritual materials to assist you. As long as I recover, I can help you. All right. Hui immediately nodded in agreement. Aren't you afraid that I'll regret it when I recover? Right now, the initiative is in your hands, but that might not be the case once I recover. Yu Heng was clearly surprised. I'm really not afraid, Hui replied with a smile. This kind of trust that was almost like a gamble was indeed very risky for other creatures, but they were players after all. How bad would it be to bet 3 hours on the chance to refine the drought demon? Looking at the confident smile on Hui's face, Yu Heng suddenly felt touched. In his opinion, although Hui's blind trust was silly, it was sincere. Don't worry. You saved me and chose to trust me. I won't let you down. By the way, what's the level of your strength? Why do I feel that you haven't reached the Ghost King realm yet? Yu Heng asked curiously. He's in the advanced stage of Ghost Supreme Commander, and I haven't even reached it. However, in terms of lethality, we can kill a Ghost Emperor. Do you believe me? Nie Feng said proudly. Hearing this, Hui couldn't help but roll his eyes. Nie Feng's words were not wrong. After all, when he blew up the Mansion of the Dead, he did blow up a Ghost Emperor-level Sun Glory. This was proven by his battle record. I believe you. To be able to obtain the Drought Demon, your strength is definitely not as simple as it looks. Yu Heng continued Nie Feng's pretentiousness very cooperatively. All right, rest well. We'll protect you while you recover from your injuries. As Hui spoke, he patted the corpse refining bag and summoned the dozens of zombie spirits inside. Under Hui's instructions, the zombie spirits that appeared formed a large circle around the place where the 3 of them were, acting as guards. Seeing so many zombie spirits, Yu Heng was stunned again. He had some understanding of zombie forge masters. Although their abilities were very strong, they also had many taboos. For example, if the zombie spirits controlled by zombie forge masters were too strong, they could easily turn on their masters. After all, zombie spirits would develop their own consciousness as they grew. Therefore, refining zombie spirits that were stronger than themselves was a very risky move for zombie forge masters, and the success rate was not high. Therefore, for Hui to refine zombie spirits that were stronger than himself, Yu Heng was undoubtedly impressed by this. After all, to him, this kind of behavior was like playing with fire, and it could cost him his life at any time. As they chatted, the injuries in Yu Heng's body began to slowly recover. Time passed, and when dawn broke through the horizon, Yu Heng was finally able to control himself and stand up. At this moment, Hui received a message. Qi Ming, Great Demon King, I've already walked out of the Arctic Abyss. Give me your coordinates. I'll be there soon. Seeing this, Hui immediately sent his coordinates to Qi Ming, then turned to look at Yu Heng and said, My friend will be here later. He wants to meet you. Yu Heng was stunned when he heard this. This was because he did not sense any magical fluctuations around him. How did Hui receive the message? Suddenly, Hui and Nie Feng became even more mysterious in Yu Heng's eyes. However, when he thought of Hui's so-called friend, Yu Heng said helplessly, I can agree to anything but the samsara laughter. Even if he's your friend, I won't agree to it. Is it true that only members of the Nether clan can learn the samsara laughter? Hui suddenly asked with a smile. That's right. Only members of my clan can learn it, and it will never be taught to outsiders. This is the rule of my clan. Anyone who violates it will be a sinner of the Sunluo Nether clan. Yu Heng nodded solemnly. Then there should be no problem. Hui immediately nodded. What do you mean? Yu Heng was stunned. You'll know when you see it. You probably won't believe me even if I tell you, Hui said mysteriously. While waiting, Yu Heng's body continued to recover, and he could already mobilize the power in his body. At this moment, a figure appeared in the distance. This person was sitting on an illusory skeleton throne, flying over. Elder Qi Ming, you're already so old, yet you're still acting cool. Nie Feng couldn't help but pout. That's the power of acting cool. It's impossible not to act cool, Hui said with a smile. The Ghost Eclipse throne. Yu Heng, who was watching from the side, was shocked. This was because the Ghost Eclipse throne was one of the 3,000 spells of the Nether clan's Ghost Owl. However, His clansmen had already been slaughtered by the Corpse clan. How could there still be clansmen outside without him knowing? Yu Heng obviously didn't understand what was going on. However, when Qi Ming approached, he didn't think so. In Yu Heng's eyes, Qi Ming didn't look like a member of the Nether clan at all. Instead, he looked very similar to Hu He and Ye Feng who were beside him. "I'm late. Thank you for your help, great Demon King." The ghost eclipse throne landed on the ground and dissipated into mist. Qi Ming stood up and looked at Hu He with a smile. "You're welcome, Elder. He's already awake. You can ask him about the details." Hu He nodded and retreated to the side. Qi Ming heard this and turned to look at Yu Heng. While he was looking at Yu Heng was also looking at him. At this moment, Yu Heng was shocked to find that Qi Ming's forehead and arms had the mark of the Senro Nether clan. Moreover, it was a royal mark. Yu Heng was dumbfounded by this. He didn't understand why an outsider would have the inheritance mark of the Nether clan. "I'm Qi Ming, friend." Qi Ming greeted Yu Heng in the manner of a cultivator. "What's going on with you? Why do you have the mark of the Nether clan's king on you?" Yu Heng couldn't help but ask. Qi Ming didn't intend to hide it. After all, he was here to ask for help. "My inheritance comes from the Nether clan's 23rd elder. It was given to me by the Ice Snow clan's leader, Frozen." The 23rd elder? Yu Heng looked a little confused. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly remembered that there seemed to be such an elder in the clan. However, this person disappeared before he was born, so he naturally had no impression of him. Moreover, he had never heard of the Ice Snow clan that Qi Ming mentioned. Thinking of this, Yu Heng still asked, "How many of the Senro Nether clan's abilities have you mastered?" "Although I'm not very proficient, I have mastered 500 of the 3,000 Ghost Dao. I'm also learning the rest of the spells. However, what I regret is that only the Senro Triple Laughter is missing." Qi Ming couldn't help but sigh. Hearing this, Yu Heng nodded and asked again, "How long have you been learning?" "To tell you the truth, 2 years." Qi Ming answered immediately. At this moment, Yu Heng's eyes widened, and his face was full of disbelief. 2 years, or 2,000 years. Did you get it wrong? 2 years. Yu Heng's mind exploded. Learning 500 spells of the 3,000 Ghost Dao in 2 years. This talent could no longer be described as terrifying. In fact, Frozen had said the same thing before. He had also marveled at Qi Ming's super talent in cultivation. In the age of Dharma ending, Qi Ming, who could live for more than 100 years and cultivate in seclusion on the peak of Snowy Mountain, was a top group of people even in the real world of cultivation. "I don't believe it. How can you master 500 spells in 2 years? Moreover, you're not from the Nether clan. How can you do it?" Yu Heng shouted angrily. Obviously, he didn't believe what Qi Ming said. Qi Ming didn't answer. Instead, he stretched out his hand and formed a hand seal. Instantly, the Senro royal mark on his body shone brightly and formed an illusory ghost flower. This spell was used by the Nether clan to identify the age of their clansmen. Since inheriting the 3,000 Ghost Dao spells, this mark would be imprinted on one's body, forming a ghost flower that could tell one's age at a glance. Qi Ming had only inherited the Nether clan's inheritance for less than 2 years. Therefore, this ghost flower mark only had 2 petals, and they were the initial red color. The red color proved that Qi Ming had inherited the Nether clan's inheritance for less than 1,000 years, while the 2 petals proved that Qi Ming had only cultivated for 2 years. Faced with the truth, Yu Heng was completely dumbfounded. Even though he thought he was extremely talented compared to Qi Ming, he seemed to be overshadowed. At this moment, Yu Heng was silent. Previously, he felt that Hu He and Nie Feng were very mysterious and unfathomable. However, now that he saw Qi Ming, he was completely convinced. It was obvious that they were from the same clan. At this moment, Yu Heng only had one thought in his mind. What kind of clan is this? How could they be so terrifying? Chapter 555. Qi Ming's talent in cultivation shocked Yu Heng. At this moment, he felt that he was a fake Sun Luo Nether tribe member. Qi Ming, with such talent, was the real Nether tribe. He had only heard of one person with this kind of talent in cultivation. That person was Hidorigami from the Corpse clan, who also rose rapidly and possessed the strength to fight against the Sun Luo clan in a short period of time. Thinking of this, Yu Heng's gaze towards the three of them changed. He really wanted to know which clan they belonged to, and how could their clansmen be so terrifying. Apart from the mysterious Nie Fong, there was also a corpse forge master who used hitorigami as a zombie spirit. The zombie spirits under him were all stronger than him. One of them had mastered the 3,000 ghost spells of the Nether tribe and was even more talented than him. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Everything was too *king fake. However, what Yu Heng didn't know was that the reason why Qi Ming could master the 3,000 ghost spells of the Nether tribe so quickly was not only because of his strong talent and cultivation, but also because of Lu Wu's great help. After receiving the inheritance, Qi Ming's body was recast. It could be said that this body was specially used to cultivate the Nether tribe's inherited spells. Naturally, his cultivation speed was fast. This was just like how Sun Qi's body was reconstructed after receiving the inheritance. It was perfectly compatible with the White Phantom clan's supernatural power. It was equivalent to Lu Wu personally activating a cheat growth mode for them. How could they not be strong? However, Yu Heng couldn't understand this. After all, the 3,000 ghost spells of the Nether tribe were created with the Nether tribe as the foundation. It was strange that an outsider could perfectly fit it and cultivate it faster than his own people. Looking at Qi Ming, Yu Heng didn't know what to say. He was extremely depressed. "My friend, can you teach me the Sun Luo triplets? Or what do I have to pay in exchange for this spell?" Qi Ming asked sincerely. "No way. Although you received the inheritance of the Sun Luo clan, you're not a member of the Sun Luo Nether tribe. The ultimate secret technique will never be passed on to outsiders." Yu Heng immediately shook his head to reject him. "Brother Yu Heng, your Nether tribe has no one left. Do you really want this spell to be lost? After all, your revenge might not be successful. You might even lose your life in the process." Nie Fong couldn't help but advise. After a night of idle chatting, Nie Fong and who he had already understood what had happened to Yu Heng. They also knew that he was the only one left in the Netherworld tribe. Nie Feng's words caused Yu Heng to be stunned. He had never considered this issue before. Now that he heard Nie Feng's words, he felt that it made sense. Strictly speaking, this outsider who had obtained the inheritance of the Nether race already had a complete inheritance of the 3,000 techniques of the Ghost Dao. He only lacked the ultimate secret technique, the Sinluo's 3 smiles. But when he thought of his father and clansmen's insistence that they would rather die than hand over the 3 smiles of Sinluo, Yu Heng fell into a dilemma. Just as Nie Fong had said, if he died on the path of vengeance, then the limitless Netherworld tribe's inheritance would be completely severed. Did that mean that he, who had severed the inheritance, was also a sinner in the tribe? At this moment, Qi Ming and the others did not speak as they waited for Yu Heng's reply. Time trickled by. After half an hour, Yu Heng finally raised his head. "All right, I agree, but I have a request." "Just say it, my friend," Qi Ming hurriedly replied. Qi Ming's heart was filled with obsession with cultivation. Otherwise, he would not have hidden in the snowy mountains all year round and ignored the affairs of the world. Now that he had the opportunity to master the Sinluo's 3 smiles, how could he give it up? The Sinluo's 3 smiles is my clan's secret technique. It belongs to the ultimate category. If you want to learn it, I can teach you, but you must pass the Sinluo trial of my clan. This is also the rule of my clan's inheritance of the Sinluo's 3 smiles. Not every clansman is qualified to receive this inheritance. Yu Heng said with a serious face. Qi Ming immediately nodded. How should I proceed with the trial? Hearing this, Yu Heng could not help but frown. The Netherworld tribe had a ghost trial ground specially set up for their clansmen. However, this place was in the central area of the Nether main city, which was also the place occupied by the Corpse Mountain. Thinking of this, Yu Heng could not help but sigh and tell them the truth. When he heard Yu Heng say that the ghost trial ground was below the Corpse Mountain, Qi Ming nodded with a normal expression. "All right, I'll set off now. Do you want to die?" Qi Ming's reply stunned Yu Heng. Initially, he thought that Qi Ming would choose to give up after telling him the location of the trial. After all, that place was where the corpse mountain was. There was a high probability that he would not be able to return. This was no longer an adventure. It was simply a suicide mission. It's all right, I'll give it a try. Qi Ming immediately replied with a smile. His words made Yu Heng dumbfounded. He really wanted to use the word stupid to describe a person who did not care about his life. However, when he thought of this person's talent in cultivation, if this person was considered stupid, then what was he? His feelings became extremely complicated. It was not that he was unwilling to teach the Sinluo's 3 smiles directly, but the cultivation of the 3 smiles of Sinluo had to go through the baptism of the ghost trial ground. If he could not pass the state of mind test, he would not be able to cultivate it all. Even his past self had to go through the same thing. Old Master Qi Ming, let's go with you. It just so happens that we want to go there too. He immediately looked at Qi Ming and suggested, all right, with your help, I'll be more confident. Qi Ming nodded. You guys on die too? Yu Heng looked at He and Ye Feng and could not help but widen his eyes in shock. He could somewhat understand that Qi Ming was risking his life for the secret technique. After all, it was normal for people to die for wealth and birds to die for food. But why were these two fellows so reckless? Moreover, as friends, shouldn't Qi Ming persuade them? Was the life of a friend not a life? Even if they really did not care, it would be good to evade it and pretend. After all, their friends were risking their lives to help. How much is a life worth? Life is the most worthless thing in the world. Nye Feng curled his lips upon hearing this. Listen, this is King human speech. Yu Heng's eyes widened. In order for him to survive, the last group of people from the Nether clan, including his own father, had died. Therefore, Yu Heng treasured his life very much. Therefore, Qi Ming and the other two's reckless behavior had already left Yu Heng completely speechless. If we pass the trial of the ghost path, where should we go to find you? Qi Ming asked. I still advise you to give up. Let's not talk about whether you can enter the trial of the ghost path below the corpse mountain alive. Even if you enter, you might not be able to pass this trial. Not to mention that you still have to come out from it. Qi Ba is an expert who is about to break through to the demigod realm. If you meet him, there's no chance of survival. Yuan could not help but persuade them again. It's okay, I know what I'm doing. Let's try. Qi Ming nodded solemnly. He still knew that they were courting death. At this moment, Yu Heng could not be bothered to persuade them anymore. He immediately said, if you really want to go, I think you can wait a little longer. It's better to wait until Qi Ba breaks through to the demigod realm. At that time, the defense of the corpse mountain will be the weakest. If you go now, without the threat of Qi Ba, your chances of survival will be higher. Don't worry. Just tell us where to find you after we pass the trial of the ghost path. Nye Feng could not help but say, I'll stay here to recover from my injuries. I won't go anywhere. That's good. We'll come and find you. Nye Feng nodded. Yu Heng heard and could not help but sigh. You don't understand how powerful Qi Ba is. If you meet him, you won't even have a chance to escape. Don't forget that his ancestor is in our hands. If we meet him, we'll use his ancestor to smash his head. If he dares to resist, he'll be unfilial. Nye Feng curled his lips. Yu Heng was speechless. Hearing this, he looked at Hitorigami's body lying on the ground. Then, he turned to look at He and said, although you haven't fully recovered from your injuries, there's no problem in mobilizing your strength. I'll help you refine Hitorigami first. That way, you'll have more assurance when you go to the corpse mountain. Hui heard this and immediately nodded with a smile on his face. Refining Hitorigami had become his obsession. Now that someone was willing to help, he naturally agreed immediately. Therefore, under the curious gazes of Qi Ming and Ye Feng, Hui began refining his corpse. First, he took out a series of refining auxiliary potions that he had concocted from the channel. Then, he manipulated the zombie spirit to set up a refining formation. Hui had improved tremendously in the past 2 years, from fumbling around with the steps before refining to familiarizing himself with them. Relying on the huge amount of resources and countless practice accumulated from digging tombs and seals in the game, Hui's attainments in refining corpses had long surpassed his grandfather, who was the last descendant of the corpse refiner in real life. After everything was ready, Hui manipulated Cha Na's zombie spirit to carry Hitorigami to the center of the refining formation. Then, he turned to look at Yu Hong and said, "What I lack now is the effectiveness of refining. Let me see your refining ability first. If it's feasible, we'll work together." At that moment, Hui did not know how different Yu Hang's refining ability was from his. Therefore, he had to confirm it first before proceeding to the next step. Hearing this, Yu Hong nodded and walked to Hitorigami's body. He squatted down and pressed his hand on Hitorigami's chest. As he murmured, a cloud of green mist appeared in his hand and slowly seeped into Hitorigami's body. Seeing this, Hui walked to Hitorigami's side. He squatted down and similarly placed his hand on Hitorigami's chest. He closed his eyes and began to sense the condition of Hitorigami's body. After a while, Hui suddenly opened his eyes in joy. "Your refining ability can weaken Hitorigami's physical strength. It's feasible, it's what I need. My ghost refining technique is used to weaken my opponent's defense. That's why I'm sure I can help you," Yu Hong said with a smile. "Then let's begin." Hui nodded and decisively activated the formation that he had set up. A large amount of zombie energy suddenly emerged from the formation. This zombie energy that belonged to Hui slowly seeped into Hitorigami's body. As it began to refine Hitorigami's body, it imprinted its own life mark on it. Seeing this, Yu Hong once again activated the ghost refining technique to continuously weaken Hitorigami's physical strength. Time passed bit by bit. After a while, Hui was sweating profusely. Refining was a meticulous job. Not only did he need to use zombie energy to imprint his own life mark on Hitorigami's body, he also needed to build a zombie soul formation to give Hitorigami, who had already lost its soul, the ability to move. It was equivalent to building an energy core that could provide mobility. At this moment, Qi Ming, who was standing at the side, was watching very seriously. He was very interested in any kind of cultivation technique. Nie Feng was even more so. After all, his current goal was to refine a mobile bomb zombie. However, Hui was still unwilling to cooperate. He felt that his actions were tarnishing the corpse. So now he had a new idea. Learn it secretly, learn it himself, refine it himself, and then add his own explosion art. It's perfect. Although he couldn't understand Hui's corpse refining technique, Nie Feng still watched very seriously. He even had the urge to take out a pen and a notebook to record it down. "Elder Qi Ming, how sick do you think the Great Demon King is? He actually created this class in the game." Nie Feng couldn't help but ask as he looked at Qi Ming, who was also very serious. Qi Ming was stunned and then shook his head. "Existence has its own meaning. This is just like your explosion art. Does it matter to you whether others understand it or not?" Nie Feng's question made Qi Ming think of himself when he was young. His desire to pursue immortality was once not accepted by his relatives, but he still did it resolutely. He cultivated for 100 years and spent his whole life on it. However, he never regretted it because this was what he was pursuing. Spending more energy on something that he loved was still a happy thing. Even if no one understood it, he would be happy to do it. "Elder Qi Ming, what you mean by not being understood is different from what I'm saying. Have you ever thought about how the Great Demon King and I feel?" "What do you mean?" Qi Ming was stunned. "You see, when the Great Demon King was digging the seal, everyone was yelling at him to beat him up. He was happy, but others didn't think so. They wanted to kill him. As for me, I blew up the Mansion of the Dead. Although I'm pursuing the art of explosion, I still got beaten up. If others don't understand it, the consequences will be very bad for us. So, I don't agree with what you said about love not needing others to understand it." Hearing this, Qi Ming nodded in realization. "That's true, because your hobbies have affected others. That's why the other players called me and the Great Demon King Calamity. The bitterness we experienced during this period of time is not to be told to others. Our days were tough," Nie Feng said as he wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes. Hearing this, Qi Ming was speechless. He did not know what to say. He did not know whether to comfort him or not. Moreover, he felt that this Bomberman had a lot of drama. So, Elder Chi Ming, I know that you have the ability to summon and control ghosts. Can you sacrifice yourself and cooperate with me to research an explosive ghost art that can fly? Chi Ming was about to nod, but then he quickly shook his head. At this moment, he finally understood that this drama queen was plotting something against him. She did not have any good intentions. Seeing this, Niefeng was unwilling to give up and wanted to persuade him. At this moment, the ground suddenly shook. The two of them immediately turned to look at Hitorigami. At this moment, Hitorigami was surrounded by corpse fog. He slowly floated into the air and stopped above the corpse refining formation. On the other hand, Hui's face was full of excitement. The hand that was controlling and refining the corpse fog was trembling slightly. "It's almost done," Yu Heng said at this moment. Hui nodded and closed his eyes. He manipulated all the corpse fog above the formation and poured it all into Hitorigami's body, replenishing the energy of the corpse spirit formation that had been successfully constructed inside. This would also be the energy core of Hitorigami's corpse spirit. "It's done." Following Hui's exclamation, Hitorigami's corpse spirit suddenly opened its eyes, revealing a pair of scarlet eyes. Hitorigami's corpse spirit, half-step ghost emperor, realm suppressed. Character details: the zombie king that has been sleeping in the burial grounds for a long time. At this moment, its soul has been erased by the demonic god, leaving behind a ghost emperor-level body. It has been refined into a corpse spirit, realm suppressed by player Hui in the process of refinement. Strength has reached half-step ghost emperor realm. Character status: corpse spirit, newborn weak consciousness, broken, bound zombie forge master. Hui, player. Looking at the analysis menu, Hui, who was covered in sweat, clenched his fists tightly. He seemed very excited. "It's a success." Yu Heng, who was beside him, nodded. He forced a smile on his pale face, looking very weak. "Fortunately, I didn't fail you." Seeing this, Hui immediately bought a level 2 recovery potion from the shop, took it out from the channel, and handed it to Yu Heng. "Thank you very much. Take this potion. It will help your recovery." Yu Heng was stunned. After thinking for a while, he took the potion and swallowed it without hesitation. Since Hui trusted him so much from the beginning, he naturally would not suspect anything. "Wow, great Demon King. Now you become the real PvP solo king. I guess even a 50-50 bald monk is no match for you." Seeing this, Niefeng quickly took a few steps forward and began to size up the 3-meter-tall Hitorigami's corpse spirit. "Don't talk nonsense. My weakness is still very obvious. I can win against opponents like Big Gouda, but if I encounter opponents like Little Pomelo or Black Lily, who can bypass the corpse spirit and directly kill me, I'm not so sure. Being overly humble is just showing off." Niefeng curled his lips. Hearing this, Hui grinned and did not explain further. In short, he was very proud of himself. "Great Demon King, I feel that you are more and more wicked now," Niefeng suddenly said. "What's wrong?" Hui was stunned. "Think about it. You want to use Yuanxiu's father's corpse spirit to fight Yuanxiu, and you also want to use Qi Ba's ancestor to fight Qi Ba. You always use the mentality of a father or an ancestor to fight a son or a descendant to punish your opponent. Tell me, aren't you wicked?" Hui was speechless. Although he did not want to admit it, Hui felt that what Niefeng said did make sense. Chapter 556. Seeing this, Niefeng and Qi Ming immediately followed. F***CK, Uncle Tangmu, your wife glared at me just now. Niefeng pointed at Time Flow as he spoke. "It's true, she really glared at me just now. She looked quite fierce, and even showed her little canine teeth," Niefeng said, as if he had seen a ghost. Hui heard and nodded. "Corpse Spirit Jade? There's Corpse Spirit Jade in the Corpse Mountain." When Hitorigami stepped into the Corpse Mountain, the first thing to be alerted was the Yong on the Corpse Mountain. Then, Niefeng looked at Tangmu. "That's why I have a new idea, but I need one of you to sacrifice yourself," Niefeng said solemnly. Hearing this, Niefeng looked at Hui. Hui gave him a look that said, "You know what I mean?" So he looked at Qi Ming. Hearing this, Tangmu had a helpless look on his face. for a zombie forge master like him. This thing was a rare treasure that could significantly increase the strength of the zombie spirit. As the dust flew, a click was heard and the surroundings returned to silence. "That's amazing," Nye Fong exclaimed again, looking at time flow in a different way. However, Tang Mu still shook his head. Then, the three of them walked towards the area in the city where the zombie energy was the thickest. The journey was extremely smooth. "All right, actually I don't have much confidence going alone. After all, Chi Ba's strength is too strong. With you guys around, I feel much more at ease." Tang Mu immediately nodded in agreement. Hui thought for a while and shook his head. "I have no plans for now." Along the way, Hui's supernatural power really shocked Qi Ming and Ye Feng. At this moment, they saw what it meant to have a specialty. "Amazing. Why is your corpse-seeking plate like Minesweeper? You can even find out how many there are?" Nye Feng asked in surprise. Next, the four of them hid in the dark and observed, while Hitorigami's zombie spirit walked towards the corpse mountain step by step under Hui's control. "There's no need. Elder Qi Ming, your ability and Yu Heng's are both from the 3,000 ghost arts, so it'll easily attract Qi Ba's attention. He might even think that Yu Heng has returned. When that happens, he'll definitely search the entire city. It's better if I go." The flow of time has already developed its initial consciousness. It can understand what you're saying, even though it might not be able to fully comprehend it. There are 2 corpses buried under the city gate. Judging from the density of the corpse aura, they should be at the level of ghost soldiers. Let's go in directly. At this moment, the young beast, which had no ability to think, completely short-circuited what entered his eyes was the towering city wall. The weather-beaten walls had darkened under the baptism of time. They were mottled, and a large part of the wall was peeling off. It was ancient and full of vicissitudes. Moreover, it was 1 against 5. Under this person's control, another figure spun, leaped, and danced in the battle. Occasionally, it revealed a cold light, but it was incomparably fatal. In the blink of an eye, all 5 Corpse Clan warriors were killed. What plan? Be specific. We could not help but glare. If these 4 young beasts are the same as the one in the video on the forum and have the strength of an early-stage Ghost Emperor, it will be very difficult to deal with them. However, if they're all Ghost King level, I can deal with them alone. Therefore, we must first investigate the specific strength of the Corpse Mountain. All right, we also need to check if Qi Ba is in the midst of a breakthrough. Recalling what Yu Heng had said before, that Qi Ba was about to break through, who he immediately added, "It's not easy to survive in the land of the 9 luminaries. When it was first ruled by Luo Ho's army, it was rather chaotic, so we could fish in troubled waters. Now that the security is tight and I don't have the habit of forming teams, it will not be easy to snatch the spiritual ores from them. Therefore, I'm planning to search for spiritual ores in another place." "That makes sense." Nye Feng nodded with an expectant look on his face. "Therefore, I can't agree to this condition. I won't risk the flow of time." Tang Mu spoke again. "To Hui, this was a treasure. Where are you from? Give me one too," Nye Feng said with an expectant look on his face. Hui nodded upon hearing this. Looking up, he could clearly see the corpse energy rising into the sky like smoke signals. The roars of the nightmare beast could be vaguely heard. At this moment, Tang Mu had finished his battle and noticed the 3 of them. He turned his head to look at them. Hui rolled his eyes. Just as he was about to speak, Nye Feng suddenly exclaimed. After he finished speaking, Hui patted the corpse refining bag and summoned Cha Na's zombie spirit, letting him walk in front. At this moment, the flow of time was still adorably silly. It did not stare at them as Nye Feng had said. They immediately raised their bodies and let out a threatening roar at Hitorigami, but they did not pounce on him. This was because they sensed that Hitorigami's aura was extremely similar to that of their master, Qi Ba. When he heard that the 3 of them were also aiming for the Mountain of Corpses, Tang Mu was a little surprised. However, if they were to head there directly, they would definitely be attacked by the Nightmare Beast or even Qi Ba himself. Therefore, entering the Mountain of Corpses safely became a problem. Nye Feng was a little disappointed by the 3 of them's rejection, because he had failed once again. What the F asterisk CK? Great Demon King. Are you going straight to the ancestors? Niefeng was very surprised. Anyway, we can retrieve them after they die. What's there to be afraid of? The other zombie spirits can't defeat the nightmare beast anyway. Moreover, we can also check if Chi Ba is in seclusion, Hui said nonchalantly. After advancing for a distance, the three of them suddenly stopped in their tracks. However, before the two zombie warriors could attack, Chana's zombie spirit made the first move. He grabbed the necks of the two zombie warriors and pressed them hard onto the ground. Now that he had confirmed that this was the corpse spirit Jade, he was a little excited. However, they had to enter the mountain of corpses. Apart from Niefeng, the three of them had a purpose that they had to enter. Whether it was the corpse energy concealment formation that was set up in the city or the zombie soldiers buried underground, they could not escape Hui's detection. Everything was exposed, due to Hitorigami's powerful aura. As he approached, the zombie trees rooted in the mountain of corpses began to sway involuntarily, as if they were distinguishing between friend and foe. At this moment, there was a player fighting with a zombie warrior in front of them. Just as Hui had said, when they arrived at the city gate, the two zombie warriors felt a sense of life and leaped up from the ground. Hui nodded. We're on the same side. Niefeng nodded. Although my bombs are powerful, they also have a lot of limitations. That's why I'm thinking that all three of you can control them in battle. The Great Demon King can control zombie spirits, the 7 old men can control ghosts, and Uncle Tang Mu can control puppets. I think one of you should cooperate with me to create a mobile bomb. I'll detonate it remotely and give the mountain of corpses a hard time. When the time comes, we can take advantage of the chaos and advance. Perfect. What about you guys? What are you doing here? Tang Mu asked after explaining his situation. Not only could the corpse spirit Jade feed the zombie spirits and increase their combat power, but it was also a precious material for making a corpse-raising bag. It had the powerful effect of nourishing the zombie spirits. Therefore, the team of 3 became 4 after Tang Mu joined them. Moreover, each of them was a member of the Bakey Wall gang and was very powerful. Uncle Tang Mu, I wanted to ask you, aren't you active in the land of the 9 luminaries? Why are you here in the land of Sinluo? Hui asked curiously. Uncle Tang Mu, Niefeng was surprised to see him. With Tang Mu, who was familiar with the road, leading the way, and who could avoid danger, the journey was very smooth. Soon, they arrived at the area where the mountain of corpses was. Great Demon King, dig out the weapons, separate the gold, and fix the acupoints, and watch the mountain of corpses, Niefeng said with a smile. I've been to that place, and I've seen the Scarlet Demon. Now I want to go to the mountain of corpses to dig out the corpse spirit Jade. I saw 4 of them. I'm not sure how many there are, but there might only be 4. Tang Mu answered immediately. However, Chi Ming still shook his head. He patted the corpse spirit bag, and Drought Demon's zombie spirit appeared. Hearing the 3 words corpse spirit Jade, he was a little excited. My friend Bomb, your plan is actually useless. My ghost isn't a physical body, so it can't merge with the bombs you refined. When he realized that it was someone he knew, Tang Mu was a little stunned. The land of Sinluo, the Lord City of the Nether. Watch your words. Hui couldn't help but scold him. However, he still turned his head to look at the flow of time. Niefeng saw this and sighed. Looks like I'm the only one who can do this. When Hui activated the zombie energy disc, the needle on the disc quickly pointed to the city. The zombie energy value rose rapidly and reached the peak of 1,000 points. At the same time, it showed the increment of the distance. Then, I'll summon the ghost to check it out, Chi Ming said. Tell me, what's your plan? Although the bombs you use to destroy the evil formation are powerful, aren't they very uncontrollable? You can't possibly refine them on the mountain of corpses, right? Hui asked curiously. After glancing at the zombie energy disc, Hui raised his head and looked at the city gate. In fact, the main reason he came to the land of Sinluo this time was to watch the video on the forum. He realized that the mountain of corpses in the video was inlaid with many heart-like rubies. At that time, Hui guessed that it might be the corpse spirit Jade, which was why he brought Niefeng here. However, Tang Mu looked calm. The 4 of them sat down and began to discuss their countermeasures. Upon hearing this, Hui told them the reason why the three of them came here. After all, it's for food. Do you see those glowing red gems? That's the corpse spirit jade, Tang Mu said. Qi Ming also shook his head. Nie Feng heard this and turned his head to look at Qi Ming. By the way, do you guys have any plans? If we go directly, we probably won't be able to defeat Qi Ba. Nie Feng looked at the three of them and said. Hui couldn't help but roll his eyes at Nie Feng. However, he still took out his special treasure, the corpse-searching disc. The corpse-searching disc in Hui's hand looked very different from before. After Tong Gua's specially upgraded corpse-searching disc, it had the ability to check the specific zombie energy value, which made it more convenient. Yes, there are a lot of level 6 spiritual materials on the Mountain of Corpses. Time River likes to eat them. As he spoke, Tang Mu pointed at Time River, who was standing beside him with a silly and cute face and dressed in a gorgeous red ancient costume. After 2 days and 2 nights of rushing, the 3-man team that was temporarily formed finally arrived at the Lord City of the Nether after bidding farewell to Yuhong. If that's the case, why don't we go together? We could take care of each other, Qi Ming suggested. By the way, do you know how many young beasts are in this Mountain of Corpses? Hui suddenly asked. Although he had been refined into a zombie spirit, Hitorigami's aura was completely similar to that of the Corpse Clan. His approach did not cause the corpse tree to attack him. Hui looked at Nie Feng helplessly, then turned around and walked into the city, ignoring the husky whose conception and governing vessels had been unblocked. Chapter 557. Hitorigami's aura caused the young beast to freeze in place. They discovered that this aura was so similar to their masters that they could not be judged as an enemy. Hitorigami walked to the peak of the Corpse Mountain without any obstruction. Thick corpse energy gathered around him and nourished his body, causing the scarlet in his eyes to gradually light up. At the same time, Qi Ba, who was sleeping in the blood coffin, suddenly opened his eyes. The coffin lid slowly opened. He closed his eyes and floated in the air. Adjusting his body, he faced Hitorigami and slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Hitorigami walking from the foot of the mountain, Qi Ba was very confused. This person had the aura of the same race. He should be a member of the corpse race, but there was something different about him. But when he saw Hitorigami's appearance, Qi Ba's eyes widened. Ancient memories that had been sealed for a long time surfaced. That was the most difficult time for the corpse race. The corpse race that had once been able to fight against the nether race had fallen to rock bottom. Without warning, the corpse race's most elite corpse-plucking corps and their leader, Hitorigami, had disappeared. No one knew what had happened. They searched for them, but all they found was a ruined city of the giant race, burned ground, and bottomless pits in the giant race. There seemed to have been a fierce battle here. The giant race had been destroyed, but the corpse race's proud leader, Hitorigami, had also disappeared. The disappearance of the corpse-plucking corps and their leader was a huge blow to the corpse race. After that, the corpse race's power fell to rock bottom. They were about to face the suppression of the strongest power in the Sunluo region, the Nether race. At that moment, the corpse race's upper echelons had held a meeting. In that meeting, the corpse race had decided to leave the Sunluo region and go to the Outer Realms. In their opinion, wandering was better than being destroyed by the Sunluo Nether race. But at that time, a member of the corpse race had stood up. She had stood her ground and made the decision to change the fate of the corpse race. Seeing Hitorigami now, Qi Ba could not help but think of what that member of the corpse race had said. Without Big Brother and the corpse-plucking corps, the corpse race is not safe anywhere. No matter how chaotic the Outer Realms are, when foreign enemies come, they will unite. So, no matter where we go, we will die. We might as well stay and endure humiliation. The words spoken by the small figure standing in the corner stunned all the corpse race members present at that time. Qi Ba still remembered that when he personally asked her what she meant by enduring humiliation for the greater good, she said, I'm sorry. Be a dog for the Netherworld race. Be an incomparably loyal dog, and use your actions to win the trust of this master. From today onwards, only the people present will know what I say. Tell the descendants of the corpse race to be loyal to the Netherworld race and never betray them. Only when we have the strength to resist will we tell our clansmen the truth. These words had completely stunned the upper echelons of the corpse race, as well as Chi Ba. The impression that the higher-ups of the corpse clan had of this little girl came from Hamba, because she had always been by his side. She was a little sister who had always been shrouded in Hamba's halo. The respect that the members of the corpse clan had for her also came from Hamba, but they had never truly understood this member who looked extremely weak. Regarding this decision, the higher-ups of the corpse race had initially resisted. However, the little girl had analyzed the current and future situation of the corpse race and explained the reasons, convincing everyone present, including Chi Ba. From then on, the corpse race had become a loyal dog of the Sunluo Netherworld race. Except for the higher-ups of the corpse race in the meeting who knew the truth, even the descendants of the corpse race thought so. There was no flaw, and they had deceived the Netherworld race. After that, the seemingly weak little girl had led the corpse race to prosperity step by step. She had even researched the corpse mountain that allowed the corpse race to completely overturn the situation. Until now, she had grown into one of the 3 sovereigns of the corpse race. Chi Ba would rather call her a leader than one of the 3 sovereigns of the corpse race. She was Mei Ba. It was she who had pulled the corpse race from the bottom and overturned the original ruler of the Sunluo territory, the Netherworld race. Although she didn't have the fighting and cultivation talent of her brother Hamba, in Chi Ba's opinion, Mei Ba was more suitable to be the leader of the corpse race. After witnessing Mei Ba's means with his own eyes, Chi Ba was full of respect for her. However, Chi Ba knew that Mei Ba had never been happy, because she had always been waiting for someone. The former leader of the corpse race, the king who was once known as the expert who could cultivate to the divine realm, Hamba. Until now, she had never given up looking for him. She had said that Hamba wasn't dead, but was sleeping somewhere. I will wait for him to return and give her a brand new corpse race. Ancient memories emerged. The moment he saw Hamba, Chi Ba's body trembled. A familiar aura, a familiar face. Although the appearance in his memory was a little fuzzy, he was sure that Hamba had returned. Roar! Chi Ba let out an excited roar. However, Hamba didn't respond to him. There was no light in her scarlet eyes. She just walked toward the peak of the corpse mountain. You're back. We've been waiting for you for a long time, Chi Ba said excitedly again. Facing Chi Ba's words, Hamba still didn't respond. A strong blood energy appeared on the surface of her body, and the scarlet in her eyes became even more intense. At this moment, Chi Ba was confused. In his eyes, Hitorigami was like a puppet that had lost its soul. Mei Ba was very familiar with Hamba, the ancestor of the corpse race. She was once a member of Hamba's corpse pulling group and was promoted to the upper echelon of the corpse race by Hamba. Therefore, she was very familiar with Hamba and could see that something was wrong with him. Thinking of this, Chi Ba's figure flashed and appeared in front of Hamba. She stared at Hamba's eyes with a solemn expression. Her joyful expression gradually turned into anger. Corpse spirit, you've been refined into a corpse spirit. Through Hamba's pupils, Chi Ba saw an empty body that had lost its soul, as well as a weak new consciousness. In other words, Hamba was no longer the Hamba of the past, nor was he the leader of the corpse race that had once made them proud. Roar! Chi Ba grabbed Hamba's neck and lifted him up little by little. At this moment, Hamba also punched Chi Ba's chest. This punch left a mark on Chi Ba's chest, but Chi Ba didn't dodge. She still looked at Hamba angrily, killing intent surging in her eyes. At this moment, Chi Ba could imagine what would happen to Mei Ba if she knew that Hamba had become a corpse spirit. She had waited for Hamba for too long, and the truth was too cruel to her. And the only motivation for her to stay in the corpse race and work hard for the prosperity of the corpse race was Hamba. Chi Ba knew that, in fact, she didn't care about the future of the corpse race at all. She led the corpse race to rise just to give her brother a surprise when he returned. She just wanted to get a compliment. Chi Ba would never allow Mei Ba's heart to be shaken by Hamba's return when the corpse race was rising. Killing intent surged. At this moment, Chi Ba had made a decision. Kill Hamba without Meiba knowing and pretend that Hamba had never appeared. Even if Meiba found out in the future, she was willing to bear Meiba's anger. Everything was for the future of the corpse race. Boom! At this moment, Hamba's eyes flashed scarlet. The power of Qi and blood surrounded her body. Suddenly, she punched Qi Ba's face, forcing him to take a step back. Then, she twisted her body and kicked Qi Ba's left shoulder with her right leg like a whip. Roar! Qi Ba roared and threw Hamba to the ground. The dense corpse energy of the corpse mountain gathered in his fist and suddenly hit Hamba's body. After making a decision, Qi Ba didn't hold back at all. The corpse mountain trembled. The blood mist on Hamba's body dissipated from the punch, and the scarlet in his eyes dimmed. He and the others who saw this scene from afar felt their hearts tighten. Even the ancestor could do it. What an unfilial descendant. Niefeng couldn't help but sigh. I just heard what Qi Ba said through Hamba. It seems that they have been waiting for Hamba to return, he said with a slight frown. If that's the case, why do they still do it? Niefeng was stunned. He found out that Hamba had been refined into a corpse spirit, so he became angry out of humiliation. He replied. As he spoke, he turned his attention to Hamba's corpse spirit again and began to control Hamba to counterattack. However, Hamba's corpse spirit's resistance became very weak when faced with someone whose strength was obviously much stronger. In order to control Hamba's corpse spirit more smoothly, he sealed its strength at the half-step Ghost Emperor realm. However, Qi Ba was an expert at the peak of the Ghost Emperor realm and was even close to the demigod realm. After taking a few punches, cracks appeared on the surface of Hamba's body. The power of Qi and blood in his body was scattered and could not be easily condensed. This wave of probing did not give any useful information at all, other than letting him know that Qi Ba was not asleep. He couldn't help but frown. Looking at Hamba, who was about to be beaten into a black mist and retrieved, he completely gave up. He had to admit that Qi Ba was too strong. His strength was equivalent to the combat strength of a prefect level even in other regions. Looking at the dying Hamba's corpse spirit, Qi Ba took a deep breath, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Other than Mei Ba's anticipation, he had also thought about the day when Hamba would return. At this moment, the more he looked forward to it, the more furious he was. This was not the Hamba that he wanted to wait for, nor was this the brother that Mei Ba wanted. Zombie Forge Master, I will find you, wait for me. Looking into Hamba's eyes, Qi Ba raised his fist and said. This sentence was naturally not meant for Hamba, but for who was controlling Hamba. At this moment, his fist, which was condensed with dense corpse energy, suddenly swung down. He wanted to completely erase all traces of Hamba's existence with this blow. His former feelings of longing and worship condensed into anger, accompanied by the corpse energy, and smashed down. However, when this fist was about to touch Hamba's body, Qi Ba's body suddenly flew out and smashed into the mountain of corpses, creating a deep pit and sinking into it. In Qi Ba's disbelieving gaze, a figure in a black cloak appeared. When she raised her head, she revealed a young face and a pair of strange purple eyes. At this moment, she looked at Hamba. Her emotions seemed to be a little out of control, and her body kept trembling. Brother. He's not your brother, nor is he Hamba. He's just a controlled corpse spirit. Let me kill him. Qi Ba's figure flew out of the deep pit and roared at Mei Ba. Mei Ba ignored Hamba and continued to look at him. There was only longing in her eyes. Die. Seeing this, Qi Ba was completely enraged and shot straight at Hamba. Sensing the murderous intent, Mei Ba's cold gaze suddenly turned to Qi Ba, and her murderous intent suddenly surged. Chapter 558. Seeing this, Qi Ba knew that he had to kill Hitorigami as soon as possible, because his existence would be Mei Ba's weakness. Moreover, Hitorigami was no longer the leader he admired. As long as he was killed, Mei Ba would truly have no weaknesses. At that time, she would be the leader of the corpse clan. Looking at Mei Ba's cold eyes, full of killing intent, Qi Ba rushed toward Hitorigami. He gritted his teeth gathered all his strength, and swung it at Hitorigami. Buzz! Buzz! There was a wave in the air, and a cloud of purple mist emerged from Mei-Ba's body and rushed toward Chi-Ba. Time seemed to slow down at this moment, and Chi-Ba's flying speed became slower and slower. At this moment, Mei-Ba's figure flashed, picked up Hitorigami on the ground, and brought him to the side. Boom! Chi-Ba, who had recovered, punched the place where Hitorigami was, creating a deep pit. The corpse mountain trembled violently like a mass of sarcoma, spewing out a large amount of black mist into the air. Don't force me. Mei-Ba looked at Chi-Ba coldly, killing intent surging in her eyes. He's not your brother. He was refined into a corpse spirit, and he's not a member of our corpse clan. Hearing this, Mei-Ba was unmoved. She slowly put Hitorigami on the ground, and the purple mist on her body spread into Hitorigami's body, beginning to repair his injuries. Mei-Ba, don't you understand? He's a corpse spirit. Seeing Mei-Ba so stubborn, Chi-Ba's face was filled with pain. This was definitely not the future leader of the corpse clan he wanted to see. It also made Chi-Ba have a strong desire to kill Hitorigami. Only when he disappeared, Mei-Ba would return to the leader he respected. You're so noisy, Chi-Ba. Do you really want me to kill you? Mei-Ba suddenly turned her head, and her cold eyes made Chi-Ba feel strange and cold. At this time, Mei-Ba turned her head again to look at Hitorigami lying on the ground, her eyes filled with longing and tenderness. How could she not know that Hitorigami had become a corpse spirit? In fact, when she received the news that Chi-Ba was preparing to break through the realm the day before, she had already arrived. Chi-Ba was one of the 3 emperors of the corpse clan. His status and importance were self-evident, so she had been secretly paying attention and preparing to protect him to break through the demigod realm. However, when she, who was hiding in the dark, saw Hamba walking towards the mountain of corpses step by step, great waves surged in her heart. However, just as she was about to run towards the figure that she had been thinking about for countless days and nights, she was suddenly stunned, because she realized that Hitorigami seemed to have changed. As she observed, she was horrified to discover that Drought Demon had already been refined into a zombie spirit. Anger and despair spread from the bottom of her heart. Because this was not the big brother she wanted, she had never appeared. She could only watch as Chi-Ba attacked him. Deep in her heart, she even hoped that Chi-Ba would kill him. But when Chi-Ba was about to kill Hamba, she panicked, as if she was about to lose the most important thing in her life. At this moment, she threw herself at Chi-Ba without hesitation and sent him flying. Even though Hitorigami had become a zombie spirit, she still couldn't bear to part with him. Looking at Hamba's empty eyes, Mei-Ba really wanted to tell her how much she missed her. However, for some reason, she opened her mouth slightly and closed it in the end. Mei-Ba, give up. He is no longer the leader of the corpse race. What you should do is find that corpse forge master and kill him. Chi-Ba's heart was filled with anger as he looked at the confused Mei-Ba. It was Mei-Ba who led the corpse race from its lowest point to rise step by step. He had followed Mei-Ba through countless battles, big and small, so he knew that Mei-Ba's future path should be to become the leader of the corpse race. Therefore, Chi-Ba did not want to see Mei-Ba's confusion and despair. I know what I'm doing, Mei-Ba said softly, but her eyes were still focused on Hitorigami. Chi-Ba did not speak. He stood not far away and clenched his fists. Mei-Ba ignored Chi-Ba and looked down at Hitorigami. Her eyes shone with a gentle light, and many sealed memories involuntarily appeared in her mind. It was the history of the birth of the corpse race. A long time ago, there was a weak race in the Sinluo region. They were called the Mirage race. This race stood aloof from worldly affairs. To them, the struggle for supremacy and war were very distant. Their mission was to help the Nether race, who ruled the Sinluo region, guard a spirit mine resource point in the south. Every year, they would make regular contributions. Almost all of the clansmen were miners for a living, relying on their strong bodies. Although life was hard, there was no danger to their lives. They survived for a long time under the protection of the Nether race. In this race, there were 2 siblings who were different. One had crimson skin, and the other had white skin. However, their pupils were a strange purple. Their future was originally peaceful. Perhaps they would become miners like their parents and work for the Sinluo nether race. Until one day, a sudden war broke out between the great regions. The threat came from a land of death in the west. This war was extremely tragic. Even the nether race, the royal family of the Sinluo region, had to fight with all their strength. However, at that time, all the races in the Sinluo region thought that this war would end soon. They believed that the powerful nether race was enough to deal with any enemies and that their lives would not change. However, in reality, the tragedy of the war exceeded their imagination. The clan king, who had reached the demigod realm, and the clan elder, who was at the peak of the ghost emperor realm, had died in this battle. The forces of the netherworld race had suffered a heavy blow. Even so, the war was not over. Under such circumstances, the leaders of the nether race made a decision to recruit all the races in the Sinluo region. No matter what race they were, as long as they could fight in the war against the land of death, they would kill all the races that disobeyed. So, in the cries of Hitorigami and Meiba, their parents left. Also, they never came back. They participated in the cruel war and lay down in an inconspicuous corner of the battlefield forever. When the war was over, the nether race defeated the enemies, but they also suffered great losses. Many of their experts were killed or wounded, but they were still the kings of the Sinluo region, and no force could replace them. All they needed was time to heal. Everything seemed to be peaceful again, but in fact, there was no peace at all. After the war, many things had changed. After this war, the Mirage race only had some children who hadn't reached adulthood and some elders who were about to die. It was safe to say that the Mirage race's life was completely changed. The Mirage race's moment of desperation had come. They could no longer trade for resources from the nether race by mining. Even though the young Mirage race children wielded their tools and tried to dig for resources, their output couldn't meet the nether race's demand at all. Life was getting more and more difficult, and the Mirage race could only feel desperation. Even at this moment, they still didn't think to resist. After being enslaved for a long time, they felt that obeying the nether race was normal and not forced. The older generation of the Mirage race couldn't hold on any longer. They chose to give their precious food to their young clansmen and abandon themselves. During this period, the Mirage race had no vitality at all. Death was so close to them. Right when the Mirage race couldn't hold on any longer, something else happened. The Mirage race children, who were responsible for the livelihood of the entire race, dug out a precious resource called colored glass in a spiritual mine and discovered a colored glass mine inside the mine. Life would always open a window full of hope when you were in desperation. At least, that was what the Mirage race children thought at that time. The nether race was overjoyed by the discovery and rewarded the Mirage race with abundant resources. The Mirage race had hope again, and it seemed that they wouldn't have to starve anymore. However, things didn't go as they expected. At this moment, many other races had their eyes on the Mirage race. Like the Mirage race, they had all gone through the pain of the war between territories and could only struggle to survive. Some of them even gave up hope and waited for death. At this moment, they were jealous of the spiritual mind that the Mirage race protected, and they were even more jealous that they didn't have to worry about food anymore. Therefore, the minor races around the Mirage race joined hands and decided to loot the things that they were jealous of in order to survive. On a peaceful night, they launched an attack. The Mirage race suffered a heavy blow, and a lot of their clansmen were killed. At that time, Hitorigami wasn't the leader of the corpse race yet. There was only fear in his heart when he was faced with a battle. He hid in the house with his sister and listened to the noises and screams outside, not daring to go out at all. When the door was broken, Hitorigami didn't even know how he should fight back. However, when he saw that his sister was knocked to the ground and bleeding from her forehead, Hitorigami somehow had the courage to lunge at the alien closest to him. Hitorigami, who had no battle experience at all, bit the alien with his teeth. It was the first time that Hitorigami had tasted the sweetness of blood. The blood injected immense power into his body, and it was with that power that he bit and sucked all the blood from the 3 aliens who entered the house. After that, he kept retching and feeling nauseous, not from his body, but from the resistance deep inside his heart. Full of fear, Hitorigami walked out of the house with his sister, because he knew that he would be killed if he stayed. It was chaos outside of the house. The children of the alien races were fighting against the children of his own race. However, it was a one-sided battle. The aliens were outnumbered, and the Mirage race were no match for them at all. Holding his sister, Hitorigami chose to run away instead of fighting back. Some of the Mirage race escaped their territory in the chaos, just like Hitorigami did, and those who couldn't stayed there forever. When the first light of dawn appeared, the Mirage race's territory was a mess. Many young children were lying in pools of blood, never to breathe again. Hitorigami, his sister, and the rest of his people who escaped went to the Nether race. Helpless, they didn't know where their future was. The only sense of security they had was from the Nether race. They didn't know where else to go except the Nether race. During this time, Hitorigami's sister had been unconscious. His people tried to persuade him to give up on his sister, or they would both die. But Hitorigami was unwilling to give up on his sister. He had lost his parents, and his sister was his only comfort. He still remembered his parents saying that as an elder brother, he must protect his sister with his life. That was exactly what Hitorigami did. On the way to the Nether race, hunger, thirst, and fatigue accompanied each other, but Hitorigami gritted his teeth and persevered. On the way, Hitorigami fed his sister with his blood, which was getting more and more haggard, to keep her alive. Perhaps because the blood he drank from the three aliens gave him strength, he managed to survive until the day he came to the Nether race. However, when he entered the Nether race's city and saw the manager who was responsible for receiving the ores, Hitorigami and his people were in despair again. The Nether race's manager of supplies told him that resource plundering was the norm in a big region. The Nether race was responsible for external affairs, but they never cared about internal conflicts. At that moment, Hitorigami and his people were filled with confusion and despair. They were driven out, and the manager of supplies told them that the Nether race didn't take in idle people. The clan land was gone, and the manager who used to provide them with daily necessities wasn't willing to take them in either. They completely became wanderers. After that, the remaining Mirage monsters ate tree bark and grass roots as food and began a hard life of wandering. During this period, many of his people died. However, something worse was approaching. Cold winter from the land of Sunluo was coming. The world changed drastically. A huge iceberg gradually formed in the direction of Beiki, and the first cold current came from the land of Beiki. Cold, hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Under such conditions, the destruction of the Mirage monsters seemed to be a foregone conclusion. Looking at his increasingly haggard sister, Hitorigami was heartbroken. He didn't want to see his sister leave him like this. He had to think of a way to save her. At this moment, Hitorigami thought of the power that emerged in his body when he drank the blood of the aliens. Could his sister also drink the blood of the aliens to recover her health and wake up from her deep sleep? So, Hitorigami turned his eyes to the aliens who occupied their clan land. When his people were waiting for death in despair, Hitorigami tried to persuade them to resist and take back the clan land that they had lost. However, nobody paid any attention to him, because nobody thought that Hitorigami's suggestion was something they could do. At this moment, Hitorigami told them about the blood-sucking incident and said that they were of the same race. If he could do it, so could they. For that, Hitorigami asked his confused people to try drinking some of his blood. At this moment, the remaining dozen Mirage monsters also discovered their racial talent. So, they obeyed Hitorigami and traveled a long way to their former clan land. The Mirage monsters' revenge hunt began. They looked for lone targets, hunted them, and shared their food. Like dormant beasts, they nibbled away at the aliens who occupied their territory bit by bit. Their strength grew quickly during this period, until one day, the Mirage monsters realized that they could be so powerful. Their blood contained the great power that they needed, and it was so wonderful. The Mirage monsters, who had become powerful, reclaimed their former territory and killed the foreigners mercilessly. During this period, Hitorigami grew from a kid that his people didn't care about to the leader of the dozen mirage monsters. Compared to his people, Hitorigami's talent was even more horrifying. He grew 10 times faster than his people by drinking the same amount of blood. Just like his red skin, he was quite different and special compared to his people. However, Hitorigami wasn't happy because his sister was still sleeping and getting more and more haggard. The blood of the aliens worked wonders for them, but it had little effect on his sister. How could Hitorigami accept that? He knew that he needed more power, which was the only way he could get more precious healing treasures to cure his sleeping sister. So, Hitorigami turned his bloodthirsty eyes to the aliens. Just like the aliens who invaded their territory, Hitorigami did the same. It was because the mirage monsters needed killing and blood to grow stronger. So, Hitorigami led his people to attack the aliens, not for resources, but to grow stronger by drinking blood. Logically speaking, Hitorigami leading his people to slaughter the aliens should have alarmed the Nether race. Although the Nether race didn't care about the racial conflicts in the big territories, Hitorigami's behavior had obviously affected the supply of spiritual minds and other resources to the Nether race, which affected their development to some extent. However, that wasn't the case because the Nether race had a headache too. The cold current coming from the direction of Baki had aroused their vigilance and made them attach great importance to it. They were currently discussing countermeasures and had sent the 23rd elder of the clan to Baki to personally investigate the situation. At this moment, they had no time to care about the minor racial conflicts in the south of the big territory. Under such special conditions, Hitorigami led the mirage monsters to grow stronger quickly. Chapter 559. After learning about the method to produce the blood source, Hitorigami did not hesitate at all. He led his clansmen in a new round of slaughter. As the heavens fell and the earth cracked, Hambo was severely injured. The pursuit and escape began. In just 8 years, the corpse race had occupied a quarter of the southern territory of the Sinluo land. However, the Netherworld clan was still preparing for war, waiting for the arrival of the Baki army at any time. These children were obviously different from the mirage monsters in the past. Their bodies were stronger, and they had a strong desire for blood since they were little. It seemed that the scales of victory were gradually tilting towards the corpse race. The third type only existed in legends, and it was known as the Blood Sea Origin. Only its name was left behind, and no one knew its origins or how it was born. The curse still existed. As for why they had come to the Sinluo region, the elder of the Netherbat clan guessed that it might be because the war had led to the extinction of their clan, and they had no choice but to leave the Hell region and come to the Sinluo region. They even changed their name to the Mirage Monsters to avoid being hunted by their enemies. The control of corpse chi, the usage of chi and blood, the creation of zombies, and so on. But this time they were obviously wrong, and they paid a painful price for it. The corpse race in the south developed rapidly in such an environment. During this period, Hitorigami formed the Corpse Plucking Legion. Only the most outstanding warriors in the tribe could join it. Because so many years had passed, his sister still showed no signs of waking up. This was something Hitorigami could not accept. The southern side of the Sinluo region welcomed its darkest hour. After losing Hamba and the powerful Corpse Plucking Legion, the Corpse clan suffered heavy losses just as they were about to see victory. The rise of the corpse race was something that the people of the Netherworld race could never have imagined, even in their dreams. In the short span of a dozen years, the southern part of the Great Region had already undergone earth-shattering changes. It was no longer the region that was under their control. In the blink of an eye, the blood child in Hitorigami's eyes had turned into a god-level powerhouse that even he could not defeat. Without exception, these Netherworld race investigators who had entered the southern part of the territory had all been mercilessly devoured by the corpse race. This discovery sent Hitorigami into ecstasy. They had ruled the Sinluo region for a long time. In the eyes of the Netherworld clansmen, enemies could only come from outside the region. Along the way, many forces were crushed under the demonic god's feet. The demonic god who had lost his mind crashed through the iceberg of the Arctic abyss and followed Hitorigami into the land of Baki. They were looking forward to defeating the Nether race under the leadership of the Drought Demon Forefather and becoming the overlord of the Sinluo region. After carefully examining Mei Ba's physical condition, the Darkbat clan's elder told them the reason. That was the source of blood. On the other hand, Hitorigami and her sister were different. Although the Netherworld race was furious about this, they didn't think that this force could contend with their Netherworld race. It was hard to tell whether it was a blessing or a curse in the blink of an eye. As it turned out, the Mirage monsters weren't native to the Sinluo domain, but a branch of the Corpse clan from the Infernal domain. Since he had made up his mind, Hitorigami naturally would not hold back. The name Mirage monsters, on the other hand, only represented the humiliation of being ruled by the Nether race. Hamba wanted a new life. This was undoubtedly a slap to the Netherworld clansman's face. He was the demonic god, the mortal enemy of Hamba. From the elder of the Netherbat clan, Hitorigami also found out that their entire clan had been cursed by the gods. It was also at this time that Hitorigami learned about the origins of his clan. This was also the reason why the siblings were so different when compared to their clansmen. It was also the truth that Hamba's talent far surpassed his clansmen. His goal was to slaughter the other clansmen in the Sinluo domain while fighting against the Netherworld race and use their blood to refine a blood source to remove the god's curse in his sister's body. During this period, many clansmen were slaughtered, and all of them were refined into blood sources by Hitorigami. There was no exception, including the Netherbat clan who used to curry favor with Hitorigami. This undoubtedly alarmed the higher-ups of the Netherworld race. That day, the giant clan faced a destructive blow. The Corpse clan descended from the sky, and the entire clan fought back with all their might. However, facing the powerful corpse-plucking legion, their resistance was useless. However, at this time, something happened that changed the situation of the Sinluo domain again. Faced with the death of his clansmen, the little boy angrily questioned why he did this. Perhaps even Frozen didn't expect that accidentally killing a member of the Netherworld race who trespassed on his territory would have such a huge impact on the Sinluo domain. However, breaking through the god's curse didn't mean that the curse would disappear completely. In the end, they didn't wait for the return of the 23rd Elder. Instead, an unexpected new force came. The Mirage monsters were like a black curtain that covered all the forces in the south, making it hard for them to breathe. The method was very simple, which was blood sacrifice. They used the blood of a large number of lives to condense precious blood sources. After the war in the Big Region, the Netherworld race, which had been heavily injured, was extremely vigilant against the cold current coming from Baki. This way of growth matched the Mirage monster's racial talent, so the Mirage monsters quickly grew stronger. Although she was still very weak, and her body remained in the shape of a child, Hitorigami was still very happy. He knew that his hard work had finally paid off, so he tried to scare the little boy, telling him that he was going to eat him. There was no reason. If there was, it was because the boy was too weak. The Netherbat clan didn't want to become enemies with this god of slaughter, so they didn't dare to neglect him. The clan elder greeted him in person. The Mirage monsters were no longer the Mirage monsters they used to be, but a brand new clan. He was not afraid of the Netherworld race. After a long and comfortable reign, the Netherworld race looked down on all the forces in the Big Region. They felt that their resistance would only be like moths flying into flames. He wanted to know why his sister became like this. Fate is always elusive. Then, the Mirage monsters began endless plundering and killing. Hitorigami smiled, very happily. To him, it was really interesting that the natural blood essence, a spiritual creature of heaven and earth, had turned into a creature with feelings. He, who had been studying the blood essence, was sure that it was the natural blood essence, a super treasure that was countless times more powerful than the inferior blood essence he made. From the old Netherbat clan elder, Hitorigami learned that the blood essence was divided into 3 categories. Not only Hitorigami, but the Mirage monsters who followed him also realized their great potential. Not only the Netherworld race, but even the Corpse clan thought so, because it meant that his sister's curse could finally be completely removed. The enemy's blood was the nourishment for their growth. because they broke the curse seal of the gods the moment they were born. In the killing, he gradually understood the importance of power and the principle of the law of the jungle. Just as the Netherbat clan's elder had said, this drop of blood essence had awakened his slumbering younger sister. It could be said that the Netherworld race had witnessed Hitarigame's rise. In just a few hundred years, Hitarigame's terrifying growth completely shocked them. This was a very miraculous substance that could be swallowed to obtain powerful blood energy. For the Corpse Clan, it was a rare treasure that could improve their strength. The blood essence also had another function, which was to wash away the curse power in the body. So the war broke out. It was the first large-scale battle between the Corpse Clan and the Netherworld race. It was a tug-of-war. The Corpse Clan exerted their racial characteristics, which were to nurture themselves through war. The tug-of-war lasted for a long time. The dozen or so Corpse Clan elders who had followed Hitarigame at the beginning all died in battle, and the new members of the Corpse Clan took their place. The war became more and more intense. As the Mirage Monster's children grew up, the Mirage Monsters expanded for the first time. While Hitarigame was planning for this, the Netherworld race, which hadn't received any resources from the south, finally realized something was wrong and sent people to the south of the territory to investigate. For this reason, he changed the name of his race to the Corpse Clan, because this was their real name. Without being forced, he would never know how great his potential was. The racial talents of the Mirage Monsters were constantly excavated during this period. However, the defeated Corpse Clan retreated like hyenas and attacked again when the time was right. The dozen or so people who followed Hitarigame gave birth to the first batch of children. However, Hitarigame didn't know that the turning point of fate was quietly approaching. The 23rd Elder's absence worried the higher-ups of the Netherworld race very much, because in their opinion, it was a sign of Baki's hostility. From being unable to resist at the beginning to slowly turning the tables, the growth of the Corpse Clan and Hitarigame frightened the Netherworld race. During this period, the higher-ups of the Netherworld race besieged Hitarigame several times, but he escaped every time. In order to wake his sister from her deep sleep, Hitarigame's mentality changed from a weak child to a strong one. The scale of victory had completely tilted to the Corpse Clan's side. To the Netherworld race, it was only a matter of time before they were expelled from the land of Sunluo. After exterminating the giant clan, Hitarigame saw the blood essence. Time flew by. In the endless war and massacre, the Corpse Clan had become so powerful that even the Netherworld race was afraid of them. It was a little boy with red skin. On this day, Hitarigame, who was planning the final battle with the Netherworld race, suddenly sensed a strong breath of the blood essence. The few teams he sent out were all annihilated and turned into food for the Corpse Clan's growth. Although the curse was not fatal, it still caused his sister to be in a coma. During this period, the Netherworld race did not care about what happened in the south of the land of Sunluo. For this reason, the new king of the Netherworld race sent the 23rd Elder to Baki to investigate the situation. At the same time, the clan prepared for the worst and began to prepare for war. After sacrificing so much, Hitarigame finally managed to refine the first drop of inferior blood essence. In the past, the Netherworld race might have been the supreme master in the eyes of the Mirage clan. However, to Hitarigame at this time, the Netherworld race would only be a stumbling block that would hinder him from carrying out the massacre to refine the blood essence. This curse would continue for generations, sealing their potential and preventing them from being able to fully unleash their potential. This battle was finally coming, and Hitarigame was ready. The first type was natural blood essence, born from heaven and earth. It could be a living creature or a plant. The second type was inferior blood essence, which could be produced. During their conversation, the negative emotions in the blood child, the demonic god, erupted. The Corpse Clan was defeated and suffered heavy losses. Hitarigame, who understood the reason, panicked. He asked the elder of the Darkbat clan how to break the curse in his sister's body and wake her up. What he needed now was to produce more blood essences, or even search for natural blood essences to help his sister completely dispel the power of the curse in her body. In other words, The stick from the foreigner was not the cause of his sister's coma. At most, it could only be regarded as a lure. The real reason was that his sister was being eroded by the curse. The elder of the Darkback clan did not hide this point and told him the solution. Something else happened during these 8 years. They never expected that when they were on tenterhooks about the possible war in Baiki, a force that dared to resist their rule appeared in the land of Senluo. The outcome was set. To Hitorigami at that time, it was a happy event. Nothing could make him happier than discovering the natural blood essence. However, during this period, the hostility in Hitorigami's heart grew stronger. The Corpse Clan was no longer the force that they looked down on. Hence, Hitorigami brought his sister to the largest clan in the south of the land of Senluo, the Darkback clan. He wanted to ask their knowledgeable elder what happened to his sister. Without hesitation, Hitorigami immediately led the corpse-plucking legion and set off. The elder of the Darkback clan did not know how Hitorigami escaped the erosion of the curse, but his sister's condition did not allow her to escape the curse's backlash. Chapter 560. Without the drought demon, the corpse race seemed to have lost its backbone. They had also completely lost the power to contend against the Netherworld race. It was also at that time that Mayemo, who had always been by Hamba's side and was not valued by her people, stood out. After that, the corpse race, which was already stronger than them, chose to surrender to the Netherworld race while they were puzzled. They did not know what had happened to Hitorigami, so they were extremely vigilant towards the sudden surrender. However, with Mayba's efforts, the Nether race people who came into contact with her lowered their vigilance and happily accepted the corpse race's surrender. He also believed what the corpse clansmen had said, that Drought Demon's disappearance was because he took the initiative to leave in pursuit of greater power. He didn't want to fight anymore. After that, the Senluo region continued to wage war against the outside world. The members of the corpse race were like the sharp swords in the hands of the Nether race. They crushed their enemies and used the sacrifice of their own clansmen to prove their loyalty. Battle after battle, it seemed like the corpse race was constantly being weakened, but the strength of the corpse race's top level was constantly increasing in the war. During this period, the corpse race relied on the war to refine several inferior blood sources, successfully helping Mayba completely dispel the god curse in her body. Mayba's innate ability finally showed itself. Although she didn't have a strong cultivation and battle talent like her brother Hamba, she still surpassed all the members of the Corpse Clan. Moreover, she had an ability that her brother didn't have, which was the development and application of the Corpse Clan's abilities. As the memories faded, Mayba looked at Hitorigami, who had been refined into a corpse spirit with a trace of pain on her face. For the sake of her awakening, her brother chose to create the corpse race and contend against the Netherworld race. This was also the reason why she had always been protecting the Corpse Clan, because this clan was what bound them together. If he hadn't suddenly disappeared, his elder brother was supposed to be an abyssal prefect of the Senluo region. Even the Netherworld race couldn't stop his rise. However, at this moment, what she saw was a corpse spirit that had lost its soul. He was no longer the high-spirited older brother who started from nothing and grew tenaciously in a hopeless situation. She really wanted to know what had happened to her brother and why he had become like this. However, the Drought Demon zombie spirit did not respond to her at all. His body, which had been crippled by Chi Ba, was slowly recovering under the nourishment of the purple mist. At this moment, Mayba looked at Drought Demon's zombie spirit and suddenly said, "Can we meet? I won't hurt you. I just want to know something." No one responded to Mayba. Just as Mayba was about to speak again, Hamba suddenly spoke. "Sure, but I have a condition." "Say it. I can agree to your conditions that are not too excessive. 100 corpse spirit jades. At the same time, I'll open a path for my companion in the Corpse Mountain. I'll let him enter the Netherworld race's trial space below the Corpse Mountain." "All right, I agree." Mayba agreed without hesitation. Chi Ba wanted to say something, but when he saw the determination in Mayba's eyes, he sighed and gave up. Because he knew Mayba very well, he knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless. Mayba had already made her decision. As Mayba waited, Chana's zombie spirit, and Qi Ming walked over from afar. Before Mei Ba could say anything, Qi Ba looked at Qi Ming viciously and said, "Don't worry. You're from the Netherworld race?" "No, I'm a player clan." "Then why do you have the Netherworld clan's king's seal?" Qi Ba seemed very confused. "I obtained the inheritance of the Netherworld race." Hearing this, Qi Ba frowned slightly and turned to look at Mei Ba. "Open a path for him. Let him in." Mei Ba looked at Qi Ming and said. Qi Ba was unwilling, but he still chose to obey. He turned around and punched the corpse mountain. Under his control, the corpse mountain wriggled and slowly cracked open. Qi Ming saw this and nodded slightly. He stepped into the crack and looked down. "Here are 100 corpse spirit jades. I'll wait for you." As she spoke, Mei Ba waved her hand, and the 100 corpse spirit jades on the corpse mountain floated into the air. They were compressed into the size of a fingernail by the thick purple fog and fell into the bag in Cha Na's zombie spirit's hand. It was so easy to achieve his goal. This was completely beyond the expectations of who he and the others who were hiding behind the scenes. At this moment, they were also dumbfounded. Originally, they only wanted to ask for an exorbitant price. They did not expect this Lolita girl from the Corpse Clan to agree so easily, as they did not know about her and Hidorigami's past, who he and the others were extremely shocked. After obtaining the Corpse Spirit Jades, who he controlled Cha Na's zombie spirit and began to walk back. However, he did not walk in a straight line. Instead, he began to walk in circles. It took him quite a while to reach their hiding place. Fortunately, Mei Ba did not follow him. She was still guarding Hidorigami's zombie spirit. After obtaining the Corpse Spirit Jades and throwing them into the space, who he and the other two could not help but laugh. They felt that they had made a killing this time. Initially, they could not come up with a countermeasure, even after racking their brains. They did not expect to achieve their goal in this way. Since she had done it, Hu did not want to go back on his word. He immediately stood up and walked towards the corpse mountain. Seeing this, Niefeng hurriedly stopped Hu He. "Great Demon King, are you really going to meet her?" "Yes, we have achieved our goal anyway. The worst that can happen is 3 hours. I'm very curious about the reason for her generosity." After saying this, Hu He walked towards the corpse mountain without looking back. Niefeng curled his lips and did not say anything else. He turned to look at Tang Mu and the flow of time, who was staring at him fiercely. While Mei Ba was waiting, Hu He's figure slowly appeared from afar. At first glance, Mei Ba was sure that Hu He was the mastermind behind Hidorigami. Not only the corpse spirit bag on his waist, but also the aura that Hu He left on Hidorigami proved that Hu He was the mastermind zombie forge master. As Hu He approached, he first looked at Mei Ba, then turned to look at Qi Ba, who was staring at him as if she wanted to swallow him whole. "Can you tell me, where did you get my brother's corpse?" Mei Ba looked at Hu He and asked. When Hu He heard this, he looked very surprised. "Hidorigami is your brother?" Mei Ba nodded slightly. "Yes, biological brother." At this moment, Accountant Hu understood why Mei Ba was willing to agree to his request. Obviously, she had something to ask of him. However, there was one thing that Hu He did not understand, so he immediately asked, "Don't you hate me?" Mei Ba heard him and nodded. "I do, but I know that the one who killed my brother is definitely not you, because you don't have that ability." Although Hu He was a little depressed at being looked down upon, he had to admit that he really did not have the ability to kill Hidorigami. "So tell me, where did you get the corpse?" Mei Ba asked again. Hu He heard her and sighed. "Little girl, that guy is not someone you can deal with. You're only at the peak of the Ghost Emperor, but he is a god. There is no hope for you. You will be seeking your own death if you go looking for him." Mei Ba and Qi Ba were extremely shocked when they heard that the one who killed their brother was a god. However, after a short moment of shock, Mei Ba's eyes were filled with purple mist, and her killing intent was revealed. "Tell me who it is." Hu had also heard the story of the demonic god from Guyu. He knew that the demonic god hated Hidorigami for revenge. When the demonic god burned Hidorigami's soul, he was beside him. Although he could understand Mei Ba's desire to avenge her brother, he could not betray the demonic god. However, Hu He could not betray the demonic god. After all, the demonic god was Guyu's master. At least, that was what Hu He thought. Most importantly, he did not know where the demonic god was at the moment. Moreover, Hui did not think that the demonic god's revenge was wrong. After all, Hidorigami had killed his whole family. Therefore, Hui decisively shook his head and rejected. Chapter 561. In the face of Hui's rejection, Mei-Ba appeared very indifferent. Tell me your request, and I can give you what you want, as long as you tell me who killed my brother. Hearing this, Hui shook his head again. Actually, I don't know where he is now, but I've also said that even if you find him, you're no match for him. That's none of your business. I just want to know who he is. The purple mist swirled in Mei-Ba's eyes, piercing Hui's skin. I told you I won't tell you. Hui was finally getting impatient. Now that you're standing here, do you think everything is still under your control? Seeing this, Chi-Ba glared at him and threatened him. If it wasn't for Mei-Ba, he would definitely teach this arrogant zombie Forge Master a lesson. However, Chi-Ba's threat was nothing in Hui's eyes. As a player, being poor was the most frightening thing. As for death, everyone who played battle had died once or twice, dozens or even hundreds of times. Therefore, Hui couldn't help but laugh. You've met me. Now I'm leaving. All right, I want to take Hidorigami with me. Saying this, Hui waved his hand in a direction not far away. Hidorigami's zombie spirit suddenly stood up from the ground and walked to Hui's side. Hui's actions completely angered Chi-Ba. He immediately stepped forward to attack, but was stopped by Mei-Ba. I don't know where you got your courage from, but aren't you being too conceited if you want to take my brother away? Hui continued walking toward Nie Fong and the others without looking back. You could try. Even if you kill me, you won't get Hidorigami. I said it. The angry Chi-Ba raised his hand and was about to swing at Hui, but was stopped by Mei-Ba again. Mei-Ba, are you just going to watch him take Hidorigami away? Chi-Ba questioned Mei-Ba angrily. Mei-Ba didn't say a word. She waved her hand, and the purple mist left and Hidorigami's zombie spirit seeped out of her body. It quickly rushed toward Mei-Ba and entered her body. At this moment, a smile appeared on Mei-Ba's face. If he didn't have absolute confidence, he wouldn't be so fearless. Besides, my brother's soul didn't enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. What? Didn't enter the 6 paths of reincarnation? Chi-Ba was stunned. Do you still remember what I said? My brother is not dead. He will come back. He is just in a deep sleep somewhere, Mei-Ba said with a smile. Chi-Ba was very surprised when he heard this. He couldn't help but ask in a low voice, Isn't this your way of comforting yourself? No, it's just that I can sense that Big Brother is still alive. But this time, he has been refined into a corpse spirit. Could this corpse spirit be fake? Chi-Ba asked in confusion. That's right. This is just an empty shell without a soul. His soul was taken away by the person who killed him, but he was not killed. So, I know Big Brother did not enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. How did you know? Chi-Ba was completely dumbfounded. He told me. Mei-Ba pointed at Drought Demon's zombie spirit behind Hui with a smirk. So, you're going to look for him? Chi-Ba was startled and asked anxiously. From Chi-Ba's point of view, Mei-Ba was the future leader and hope of the zombie clan. If she left, it would be an irreparable loss for the zombie clan. No need, he will be back soon, Mei-Ba said with a hopeful look on her face. Looking at the confused Chi-Ba, Mei-Ba spoke again. Chi-Ba, I hope you can help me. What do you need me to do? Chi-Ba frowned. Give up on your demigod breakthrough and give me your corpse mountain. What? Chi-Ba was very surprised when he heard this. The corpse mountain was the source of energy for him to break through to the demigod realm. Without the help of the corpse mountain, he had no hope of breaking through to the demigod realm. Therefore, Mei-Ba's request really surprised him. Are you willing? Chi-Ba's eyes flickered with uncertainty when he heard Mei-Ba's request. He didn't know what Mei-Ba wanted to do, nor did he know if it would affect the zombie clan, so he was very hesitant. You created the corpse mountain. I can give it to you, but you have to tell me, what do you want to do? Mei-Ba nodded. I want to use the corpse mountain in our hands to create a new peak half-god realm body for my brother. As long as you agree, I'll go to Lai Ba and ask for his corpse mountain as well. At that time, all we need to do is merge the 3 corpse mountains together. Looking at the dumbfounded Chi-Ba, Mei-Ba smiled. Don't worry, I am confident that I can do it. Chiba didn't doubt what Mei-Ba said. Mei-Ba had developed many abilities for the zombie clan. She could even create corpse mountains, so he believed that she could create a demigod body. However, Chiba was still confused. What about the soul? Even if you create a demigod body, without your brother's soul, what's the use? I already know where my brother's soul is. I will also need the corpse mountain's help. Looking at the confident Mei-Ba, Chiba pondered for a while before nodding silently. Although he felt that this idea was absurd, looking at the confident Mei-Ba, Chiba still chose to agree. This was because he had always believed in any decision Mei-Ba made. Otherwise, the zombie clan wouldn't have its current achievements. A day later, the 3 corpse mountains in the Sanluo region moved toward the center. After they converged, the 3 corpse mountains began to merge 3 days later. On a deserted island in the void ocean, a young man with red skin held a fishing rod in his hand. He was fishing leisurely as he looked at the sea. There were a few spiritual fishes in the wooden bucket beside his feet. The lowest grade among them was at the sea spirit level. After killing Hitorigami, the negative emotions in the demonic god's body had completely calmed down. He had completely lost the desire to kill. Although he was free from the seal, the demonic god didn't know what to do next. Hence, he lived a leisurely life of fishing. It's coming. At this moment, the fishing rod trembled slightly. A smile appeared on the demonic god's face. He suddenly lifted the fishing rod, and suddenly a whale-like water monster broke out of the water. It opened its mouth full of sharp teeth and bit at the demonic god. Seeing this, the demonic god raised his hand and punched. After receiving the demonic god's heavy punch, the water monster instantly burst into a bloody mist and fell into the water. Spiritual fishes. I want spiritual fishes, not water monsters. The demonic god muttered in displeasure. Just as the demonic god was about to cast the fishing rod into the water again, his expression suddenly froze. He immediately calmed down and entered his body with his consciousness. Through his investigation, the demonic god quickly found the source of the fluctuation. It was Hitorigami's soul. After Hitorigami's death, the demonic god took away his soul fragment but didn't erase it. This was because Hitorigami's memories of being tortured by negative emotions was one of the demonic god's daily pastimes. However, at this moment, Hitorigami's soul fragment was trembling violently as if it was summoned by something. It became extremely unstable. This made the demonic god very confused. He didn't know why Hitorigami's soul fragment was behaving so strangely. Just as the demonic god was about to investigate, a cloud of purple mist appeared in his mind. The moment this cloud of purple mist appeared, it was washed away by the demonic god's vigorous chi and blood. It quickly melted like snow. However, the demonic god was stunned when the purple mist quickly enveloped Hitorigami's soul fragment. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared along with the purple mist. F*CK. The demonic god's fishing rod slipped from his hand. At this moment, he was dumbfounded. Gone? The demonic god didn't know what exactly happened, but from the purple mist, he could feel the weak aura of the space and time laws. Damn it, get it back to me. The demonic god's emotions exploded, and his body suddenly expanded. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a towering giant. With a stomp of his foot, the nameless island collapsed. In the center of the land of Sanluo, an incomparably huge corpse mountain was wriggling violently. The corpse spirit jade on the corpse mountain was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into energy to supply the corpse mountain. At the peak of the corpse mountain, Mei-Ba looked dispirited and vomited blood continuously. Chi-Ba and Lai-Ba, who were standing at the side, were extremely anxious when they saw this. Although they had the help of the corpse mountain, which was constantly providing energy to snatch something from the underworld god, it was still an extremely risky thing to do. As they waited, Mei-Ba's face suddenly revealed a joyful expression. She slowly opened her hand, and countless almost transparent fragments could be seen dancing in her palm. I did it. These are my brother's soul fragments. Feeling the familiar aura from the soul fragments, A smile appeared on Mei Ba's pale face. It's just a soul fragment. How are you going to repair it? Chi Ba, who was standing at the side, could not bear to see this, but he still asked. I can't repair his soul. That's the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. But even if he only has incomplete memories, he is still my brother. This is him. Mei Ba replied weakly. What do you want to do next? We'll help you, so you rest well. Lai Ba asked. I don't need to rest. You can't help me. Mei Ba shook her head, then stood up. She placed the fragments in her hand into a blood-red core, and then injected it into the corpse mountain. Mei Ba closed her eyes and began to control the huge corpse mountain after the fusion. Countless amounts of energy were injected into the blood-red core through the corpse mountain. As the corpse mountain wriggled, its size began to shrink. Refining the corpse mountain was a long process, and time passed by slowly. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. During this period, Chi Ba and Mei Ba had been guarding Mei Ba, waiting for her to succeed. The corpse mountain also became smaller and smaller during the refinement, and the corpse spirit jades that covered the corpse mountain were all used up. At this time, although the corpse mountain was still very huge, it could still be seen that it had a humanoid shape. Arms, legs, head, everything was slowly taking shape according to Mei Ba's plan. Chi Ba and Lai Ba were also very excited after witnessing all this. They believed in Mei Ba, so they were also looking forward to the moment when the ancestor who created the corpse clan returned. Chapter 562. The changes in the land of Sunluo naturally did not escape Lu Wu, who was using the artifact to investigate the entire land of Sunluo. Lu Wu was stunned when he saw Mei Ba begin to recast Hitorigami. He quickly exited the artifact space and found Lil Bailey, who was watching TV in the living room and eating like a perpetual motion machine. Foodie, come into the artifact and take a look. I marked the location. When little Bailey heard this, she looked up with a puzzled expression. What's wrong? Do you remember Hitorigami? Someone is resurrecting him. Yes, but how can he be resurrected? Lil Bailey continued to stuff food into her mouth calmly, looking fearless. However, seeing Lu Wu's serious face, she finally listened to him and entered the artifact space. She found the location that Lu Wu had marked and began to examine it. At this moment, the corpse hill had shrunk to 1/3 of its original size. Its humanoid form had completely taken shape from its initial blurry form. Lu Wu also entered the artifact space at this moment. He looked at Lil Bailey and said, Foodie, did you see that? Hitorigami is about to be resurrected. Lil Bailey calmly shook her head upon hearing this. How can it be resurrection? First of all, Hitorigami's soul has been shattered. There is no way to restore it other than using the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. All she did was collect the memories from Hitorigami's soul fragments, knead his soul, and place it into this new body. In other words, although Hitorigami is still Hitorigami, his memory is incomplete, not even 1/10 of the original. Lil Bailey looked at the corpse hill and nodded. But I have to say that she is very talented. She actually came up with this kind of recasting method. She is a genius no weaker than Songxiu. Lu Wu immediately understood what was going on when he heard that. He originally thought that Hitorigami was really going to be resurrected on the spot. This was terrifying to him because it was an ability that even the ancient gods could not achieve. As far as he knew, only Lil Bailey had the ability to perfectly restore a fragmented soul. Are you comparing her to me? Lil Bailey suddenly asked curiously. Lu Wu nodded. There's no need to compare. She is far from it. In terms of energy utilization, our soul power is 100% converted. As for the energy source of her corpse hill, it's already good enough to have 1/3 of it left after conversion. Just based on these 2 points, I can already beat her up, not to mention other aspects. Lil Bailey said proudly with her hands on her hips. Look at how arrogant you are. Can't you be a little more humble? I know you're very smart. Lu Wu said sourly. Ever since he started learning the usage and creation of artifacts from Bailey, Lu Wu felt like a muggle. The more he learned, the more tired he felt. He felt like his brain was not enough. Bailey's knowledge base could be described as limitless, which made Lu Wu realize that there was no end to learning. However, Lu Wu heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that Mei Ba did not possess a heaven-defying creation ability like Lil Bailey. As for the future of the zombie clan and the player clan, Lu Wu would not interfere. If a war were to break out, Lu Wu had a feeling that the corpse clan, who nurtured themselves through war, would be in a miserable state. After all, the specialty of the players was that their corpses would disappear after death and be retrieved by the artifact. Therefore, if a war were to break out, the players would only rely on the zombies to rise and not be weakened. At the same time, the zombies would not be able to lay a finger on the players. If they really fought, Lu Wu felt that the zombies would have a mental breakdown. Just as Lu Wu was thinking about this, a message from the Naraka server suddenly appeared in the artifact. After Lu Wu clicked on it curiously, he found that it was a feedback message from the super artificial intelligence Ike. It described the current situation of the Naraka server and also pointed out one point. There were players in the Naraka server who had begun to modify their bodies. The curious Lu Wu immediately used the artifact to look in the direction of the Naraka server. At this time, in the temporary base of the Blacklight organization, south of the Blue Valley ruins in the Naraka server, Eric and Tesla were arguing fiercely. They did not give in to each other's point of view. From time to time, they would point at the blueprints on the table and yell at each other, looking like they were going to fight. As members of the hacks group of the Naraka server, Eric and Tesla had made great contributions to the Naraka server. With a large number of blueprints in the shop, they had created many novel technological weapons and were even researching and improving stronger weapons. Many Naraka players had also used the weapon combinations and loading plans designed by Eric and Tesla. With just the two of them, coupled with the data support of the super artificial intelligence Ike, the combat power of the entire Naraka server was pulled to a new level. At this time, the Naraka server had reached a point where it could keep pace with the European server. In terms of growth, it was even one step ahead of the European server. As two research maniacs from the beginning, their goal was to cooperate, but now they had become good friends who understood each other well. However, friends are friends. When it came to researching technological weapons such as mechs, the two of them often argued endlessly, each sticking to their own point of view and refusing to give in to the other. The players in the Blacklight organization were already familiar with such a situation. They did not even look at them, letting them be flushed with anger. This time, the reason for the argument between Eric and Tesla was a new growth plan. At this time, the blueprint on the table had the words "Mechanical Revolution" written on it. This plan was first discovered by Eric, and he proposed an improvement plan. The cause was the start of the individual competition. In the beginning, Eric relied on a super mech that far surpassed the performance of the players in the same server and climbed to the top of the Naraka server in a crushing manner. After that, he chose to fight across servers. Eric, who was full of confidence, received the first blow. His opponent was the European server's hacks, Reinhardt. Not only was Reinhardt able to go head-to-head with his super mech with his strong physical strength alone, but his powerful skills also made Eric suffer. Eric had a hard time in this battle. Not only was he suppressed in all kinds of ways, his technological weapons that hit Reinhardt's body were mostly nullified by Reinhardt's strong defense. It could be said that in this battle, Eric was completely restrained by Reinhardt. Of course, Eric had his own trump card. In the end, he detonated the energy core inside the mech, causing Reinhardt to be seriously injured. Due to a rule in the individual competition space, other than specific skills, the damage caused by oneself was immune to the user. Therefore, after the energy core exploded, Eric did not suffer any damage. However, this explosion caused Reinhardt to be in a seriously injured state. The result was obvious. Without the mech, it was difficult for Eric to break the defense of the European server's #1 tank, Reinhardt, let alone kill the seriously injured Reinhardt. He lost this battle, even if he used his strongest trump card. After exiting the arena, Eric thought of a problem. If his own body had strong combat power after the mech exploded, would it mean that he could have won this battle? In the current stage of Naraka, there was only one way to increase one's physical combat power. Basically, it relied on soul power and materials to exchange for it. Compared to other servers, they did not have any advantages in skills or talents. Therefore, if players in Naraka lost their matches, it was equivalent to death. Even if they had the same level of physical strength, players in other servers could easily kill them. This was because they had no skills, no racial talents, and they did not have the combat skills of other servers. Therefore, Eric thought of a problem at that time. How could one's body continue to fight after the mech was destroyed and still have decent combat power? For this reason, Eric conducted research and referred to the growth plans of other servers. First of all, he gave up on skills. This was because without profession advancement, they could not learn the racial talents of other servers at all. This was like the Rune Masters. Their skills were all given by the gems on their bodies after profession advancement. This was something that Naraka could not learn at all because they could not change their profession. It was the same for other professions like the Wood spiritual descendants. It was not something that Naraka could learn even if they wanted to. It was a completely different growth system. During his research, Eric realized that it seemed like Naraka was completely unable to accommodate all the physical growth methods of the other 4 servers. In other words, there was no other way but to find another way. However, Eric did not give up. This was because he believed that there were endless possibilities in this game. This was something that he had already proven in many places. If there was no path, then he would create one. Therefore, he looked for his good friend, Tesla, and started to discuss this with him. Eric even specially posted on the forum, hoping that the research team of the United States military could join in and research together. However, the United States military rejected him decisively. To them, Naraka's mechs and technological weapons were the mainstream. Researching the growth of the physical body was simply putting the cart before the horse. Actually, Eric could completely understand why the United States military would think this way. This was what he had thought in the beginning, until he was beaten up by Reinhardt from the European server. However, Eric, who did not want to admit defeat, decided to persist to the end. He researched a different path of physical growth to keep pace with the mechs and other aspects. If this research direction was successful, it would mean that the players in Naraka would have 2 lives. Moreover, the second life would not be giving up and waiting for death. Instead, they would still have extremely strong combat power. His idea was supported by Tesla. For this reason, the 2 research maniacs started to look through the information on various major forums. At the same time, they thought about new ways of growth. During this period, they discovered a very big problem. That was combat techniques. What they could be sure of was that the players in Naraka were indeed very strong when they operated the mechs. However, without the mechs and only relying on their physical bodies, they were weak in terms of combat. They could not be compared to other servers at all. However, if they were to learn combat techniques of the physical body, it would really be putting the cart before the horse. Therefore, the growth of the physical body must be suitable for Naraka. They could not imitate other servers and spend a lot of time learning combat techniques. From this point, they thought about technology, using technology to equip the physical body. However, it was difficult to equip a human body with technological weapons. It was even more difficult to fully equip the body. Therefore, Eric found the NPC of Naraka, Super Artificial Intelligence, Ike. He started to look through the information left behind by the people of Blue Valley, looking for a solution. In the integrated information, Eric found a half-finished design plan, Mechanical Revolution. In this information, it proposed a concept, the mechanization of the human body. In other words, the human body would be completely transformed into a machine. All the parts of the body would be replaced by machines. This plan could be said to be very crazy. However, Eric, who saw this plan, was very excited. He retrieved it from Ike's database. As this plan was only half finished, Eric requested Ike to join his team and help him perfect this mechanical revolution plan. Unlimited possibilities in battle. Another path of Naraka was grasped by Eric just like that, abandoning the physical body in exchange for a body of steel. To be able to equip a weapon perfectly and be able to use it flexibly. In Eric's opinion, this was the growth method that the players in Naraka really needed. As for the physical body, it was just a burden.